for a place in the semi-finals.
Thank you, Jamie. To cricket now, in England have appointed Nat Sciver-Brunt as their new captain. She replaces Heather Knight, who was sacked in March after England's 16-0 Ashes defeat. Head coach John Lewis was also removed and replaced by former captain Charlotte Edwards. And Nat Sciver-Brunt said earlier today, "I'm really proud to take on the role. It's an honour to have been asked by Charlotte, someone I've always looked up to. Ever since I made my England debut in 2013, all I've wanted to do is help the team in every way that I can. I will try my best to lead this team to success while empowering them to be the best version of themselves. We have a really talented group, and we have a group that's united. It's a team I believe in and a team that can have a lot of success together." That was Nat Sciver-Brunt, and joining us now, a former teammate and current Yorkshire captain, Lauren Winfield-Hill. Lauren, I don't think anybody was surprised by this appointment, but it feels like absolutely the right fit.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a lot of, we've been left a couple of weeks of speculation of who's it going to be, and I think, Nat was the obvious candidate, and I think she's absolutely the right person to work with alongside Charlotte as well. I think it's a really nice fit. They've both already built that relationship out in the WPL with the Mumbai Indians, and they're two people that have worked together closely, especially in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's not a surprise, but it's a hugely exciting time for Nat and for that team moving forward.
Why does that relationship work so well, do you think?
I think they're very different. I think Charlotte's, she's ultra competitive, very, emotional in a good way. She's very passionate, and I think Nat's quite different to that. I think she's very level. She's very calm. I think they'll complement each other really nicely. Charlotte almost brings what Nat doesn't do quite so naturally. So I think they'll be a great team, and I think it's a hugely important relationship as well. That coach and captain, you're at the helm of driving the ship forward, and I think those two will work really well together. And I think, like I said, I think they'll complement each other nicely.
And it's a job that has real longevity, just the fourth permanent England women's captain since 2000. So is this an opportunity for her to really set her own style of leadership and kind of mould the team in that way? I was really struck by the comments that she was talking about leading the team to success, but empowering them to be the best versions of themselves. It feels like she has a lot of trust in the team.
Yeah, I think she's got a lot of trust, and she's got a lot of talent at the helm. And I think a lot of high performance sport now is you're blessed with so many talented players. It's about who can bring out the best in those players to, as she says, for her to empower others and to get back to winning ways and win games of cricket for England. And I think, she's definitely got the capability to do that. And there's the talent in the dressing room. I think that's the way in which, high performance leadership is these days. It's about, can you bring out the best in those people, and can you bring them together towards one common goal? And I think, Heather's had a very long reign. I don't think we'll necessarily see it where, I hope Nat's reign is as long, but I think there's a lot more pressure and scrutiny now in women's sport, where it's unusual for somebody to be in charge for quite so long. But yeah, I think Nat's absolutely nailed it. It's about empowering others to bring their best, and I think there's no question that the team and the squad in that England dressing room, if they bring their best, they can absolutely be world champions and have long-term success. But they've got to be closer to their best more often.
And as someone who's been a senior player and has been a leader in the way that Nat Sciver-Brunt has, does that mean that she's ready for the extra responsibility that comes with this new appointment, as well as taking on the role of being such a vital player for England as well? Is that kind of been her baby steps towards getting there, if you like?
I think so. I think, there's no arguing her credentials as an all-rounder in international cricket. I think she's arguably the best player in the world and has been for a couple of years now. And I guess this is just this is the next challenge for her, is can she then bring out the best in others and take England to some trophies and to success. And I think it's the next natural progression for her.
Really lovely to hear from you, Lauren. Thank you so much. Lauren Winfield-Hill there talking about the appointment of Nat Sciver-Brunt as their new captain. England's home summer has a white ball series against West Indies in India. That starts in May, and then there's the 50 over World Cup, which takes place in India in September. In tennis, the power is back on at the Madrid Open, but it does mean there's a packed schedule today. 22 matches were postponed when that huge outage swept across Spain, Portugal and parts of France as well. Our tennis correspondent Russell Fuller joins us after a manic Monday. Has it calmed a little now, Russell, or is it just as frantic trying to get these matches out the way?
Yes, they were able to enjoy a full day's play today, Kelly, after a Monday in which players found themselves, in many cases, walking back to the hotel in the city centre, which is a walk of around about an hour and a half in the heat. Media following a similar path, I think. Public transport wasn't working, and if you could get a car, then it was very, very slow going because the traffic lights were out as well. One Brazilian doubles player said he was stuck in a lift for half an hour. Phones weren't working. Iga Świątek says she really enjoyed that for a few hours. So did Jack Draper, who reports that he read a whole 10 pages of his book. But there were disadvantages too. The showers weren't working on site, and that was less good for Coco Gauff, who just won her match, realised the shower wasn't going to work, and had to make do with baby wipes and a spray of perfume instead.
Well, do you know what? There's a whole load of student boys who've been doing that for years, and it's not done them any harm. Look, in terms of the sort of timing of the power cut, it came at a crucial moment for Britain's Jacob Fernley. He was about to serve to stay in the match against Grigor Dimitrov when the spider cam stopped right in his eye line. That's right, isn't it?
Yes. There were two reasons really why it was going to be difficult for them to continue. One, this spider cam that sweeps across the main show courts around the world to get the best view for the television audience was stuck too low over the court, and the power went out and they couldn't move it. And also, it's now compulsory on the men's tour at least to have electronic line calling, and it becomes very difficult when there's no power. One or two courts did complete their matches with the umpires calling the lines, but it wasn't possible to do that. So Grigor Dimitrov and Jacob Fernley came back today, and there were only 3 games and a tie-break left of the match, as it turned out, and Dimitrov won that 6-4, 7-6.
And what about the other Brits in action today, Cam Norrie and Jack Draper, who you mentioned?
Cameron Norrie, who's been battling illness this week, lost the decider 6-4 to the 6'8" Canadian Gabriel Diallo. Norrie's been in better form in recent weeks, but his ranking is currently 91 in the world. That's a far cry from where he was when he actually reached the top 10, having got as far as the Wimbledon semi-finals. But Jack Draper's terrific season is continuing. He won the first set on a tie-break against Matteo Berrettini, looked to be in control, and at that point Berrettini pulled out with an abdominal injury, and so it means Draper's up against the 11th seed Tommy Paul tomorrow for a place in the quarterfinals.
And Russell, another story that I wanted to ask you about was the Australian Matt Purcell, who's accepted that 18-month ban for breaching anti-doping rules.
Yes, he is a 2-time Grand Slam champion. He won the Wimbledon doubles in 2022, and he had 2 intravenous infusions of vitamins of over 500 millilitres in a clinic in Bali in December 2023. Now, the legal limit is 100 millilitres, and this actually only came to light because of a series of phone messages between Purcell and another unidentified player that the International Tennis Integrity Agency are currently investigating. And the ITIA, they looked at it and they thought it's going to be quite hard to convince an independent tribunal that Purcell did this intentionally, so they offered him a 2-year ban with 6 months suspended for his cooperation. Purcell accepted, and even though he can't play until June of next year, he says he's glad it's over because his sleep has been affected, his eating has been affected, and in his words, it has seriously affected my quality of life.
Russ, thank you very much for that. Russell Fuller bringing us all the very latest from Madrid. Not long to go now here in North London. Arsenal preparing to take on Paris Saint-Germain in the semi-final first leg of the Champions League. Commentary from 8 o'clock. Matthew Upson and John Murray are with us. But how would it feel to be an Arsenal fan right now? Joining us right now, Harry Samayo from the Chronicles of a Gooner podcast. Harry, we'll get into the details of this game. How does tonight feel, though?
It's a mixture of excitement and nerves at the same time. I've got to be honest, these are the type of games that Arsenal have been desperate to be involved in for such a long time. But when it comes around, you can't help but feel worried, concerned. But once those players come out of the tunnel, this place is going to erupt. We saw it against Real Madrid. The atmosphere was, I would say, the best I've ever experienced here, and I've been coming here since the day this place opened. So I'm expecting more of the same tonight, but I think the closer you get to the final, the nervier it gets, and maybe the more cagey it gets, and that might translate onto the pitch, I feel, tonight.
We heard Mikel Arteta's rallying cry a little bit earlier on, and as I'm looking around the ground, there definitely do seem to be more shirts than usual. There's a lot more, and there's always a lot of red and white, but even more than usual. People have taken this to heart, haven't they?
Yeah. Have you got your boots, Harry?
Oh, I didn't bother. Okay. I can't run more than 5 yards anymore, Matt.
John's got his Copa Mundials in his bag.
There's no point in me having my boots anymore, I can tell you that. But no, you're right. Like, everybody's turned up in red and white. I think the fact it's a lovely sunny day here in London as well has really added. I came down here really early today, and you could see red and white shirts in the streets as you were driving through North London. So even the people that aren't inside the stadium tonight are really anticipating tonight's game and really, really excited for it. But these Mikel Arteta rallying calls, they work, you know. Other fans, rival fans, sometimes mock Arsenal for that kind of stuff. We see it on social media all the time, but it really does work. It gets everybody going, and I can't wait till we get started here.
Yeah, and I noticed on the concourses they've been saying they're not going to be showing the game at all. They want everybody in and on their seats and bringing their A game as well for this game. Do you have a preference as to whether the home leg is first or second? Because Arteta's talked about this as well. He said, I'd rather have the home leg second, but does it feel like there's a chance here tonight against Paris Saint-Germain to maybe, get that first advantage?
I've always felt like you have the advantage if you play the second leg at home. That's always the way I've seen it. But looking at what happened against Real Madrid, where Arsenal, in my opinion, won the tie. I didn't want to say it at the time. I don't think anybody of an Arsenal persuasion at the time wanted to say it, because there was that threat of going to the Bernabeu. But ultimately, that's where the damage was done. So if you can have a great first leg, then nobody's going to complain that it's the other way around.
I mean, by you, people listening might be able to hear the Arsenal players are just coming in from their warm-up now. That's the sudden raise in decibels.
Yeah, it's gone up a notch or two, hasn't it? I mean, what's your biggest concern this evening, Harry, if there is one? I mean, there might not be after Arsenal's performance against Madrid, but if there is a concern, where would that be?
I think there's always a concern, because I care so deeply for the football club that it's really difficult for me not to feel any nerves. I would say it's Arsenal's left-hand side defensively. Yeah. As great as they were against Real Madrid, Jakub Kiwior hasn't been doing it for a very long time, if we're being honest. And Miles Lewis-Skelly's still very young, and he's been brave and he's been bold and he's been great in everything that he's done. But you do always have that worry. And when you look at the PSG team, you think it could be Doué coming down that right-hand side. I wouldn't be surprised if he swaps with Kvaratskhelia at times. Achraf Hakimi coming down that flank as well. You wonder if PSG are going to try and create overloads on that side and try and pick at that part of Arsenal's team. So that's my concern, but they were great against Real Madrid, you've got to say.
Having said that, we've got this far into the build-up without really mentioning Bukayo Saka. So I think you're the right person to ask him about, Harry.
Yeah, Bukayo Saka's just been incredible. I mean, we were all desperate to see him come back for the Real Madrid game. The club were able to get him fit in time, which was great to see. I've got to be honest, when he first came back, he didn't look 100% fit, but that's understandable. He's been out for a long time, but what he's developed is the ability to really impact games even when he's not at his brilliant best. He won the 2 Declan Rice free kicks. He scored that goal in the Bernabeu, bouncing back from a penalty miss that could have killed him really in terms of confidence. So he's so important to this team, and I think he'll play a big part, not just offensively for Arsenal, but in pinning back the PSG fullbacks, I think, as well.
Harry, just one last one. It's the last time Arsenal were in a semi-final of the Champions League was 2009. Where were you? What do you remember?
I was here. It wasn't a good night. It wasn't a good semi-final. It was really, really stressful. And I always think when you play against another English team, it makes it even worse when you lose. So, yeah, it was a long time ago now. It feels like a lifetime ago. The club have been through such an incredible journey since. There was a huge drop-off at the end of Arsene Wenger's tenure, as amazing as he was. I don't think Unai Emery was the right guy for this club. Mikel Arteta's had to pick them up off the ground. It's taken time, but they're here now, and I predict that they'll be involved in occasions like this for the next few years. which says so much.
You've had lots of media duties today. Go and enjoy the game.
Thank
Go and
you.
get those nerves under control,
Thank
Harry.
you guys, appreciate it.
Thanks
Cheers,
so much for joining us. And as Harry was saying, Matt, it's 16 years on. It's a very different Arsenal. No, I mean, obviously there is going to be that churn of players in that time, but there's also a very different feel around the club in terms of the confidence that they can come into this game with.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that Mikel Arteta has developed. Harry's right. He came in, the club was floundering a bit. It wasn't having success on the pitch, 8 years out of the Champions League. And then to come back into it, and in your second season, being in and around this part of the competition, I think tells you about the foundations that he has laid. And they're strong. And I think the fans feel it. I think that the players feel comfortable with it. And you're starting to see it develop, and it does take time. I mean, he's 5-6 seasons in now, Mikel Arteta. I mean, it's gone in a flash, don't get me wrong, but it's still plenty of time to work at it, and he's done that. And I think that message is constant all the time. There's nights like this where you fall back on that, and when it really does pop you up.
I know we spoke about him a little bit earlier on, but I just want to go back to Declan Rice and how important he's going to be in this game. Talked about the midfield matchup. We talked about the fact that there's no Thomas Partey. Just give me a bit more insight how that changes Declan Rice's role tonight and how that affects the Arsenal team.
Well, I just think it's harder for Declan to utilise what he's best at, which is getting about the pitch. His legs, in terms of the distance covered, but not that, the intensity, the stride length, the way he drives with the ball, the way he runs into the box, all of those things. When you watch Thomas Partey, it's a little bit more of it's a bit more of a kind of shuffling role where you're side to side, you're supporting the fullback, you've got that defensive responsibility. I think that's why Mikel Arteta has seen Declan and thought, no, we can play you as you can get all over the pitch, you can go box to box, you can arrive, you can drive. He does a defensive side of it really, really well, and he's comfortable doing it. But you just, that edge that he brings you physically, I don't think you get to showcase that as much when you have to sit and be that defensive player. So I think you just have to accept that with him in that role this evening.
So what about their opponents? Let's hear now from Paris Saint-Germain manager Luis Enrique.
I think in terms of confidence, it's very positive for us because we could won the match against Liverpool, and Liverpool won the Premier League this year, but doesn't mean anything because every single match is different. I have to say that everybody speaks about the Premier League like the best league in the world. I don't know if I have to agree or not, but if I agree or not, but we are full of confidence. I'm looking forward to playing the semi-final.
I did promise that the noise levels would go up as the Arsenal fans started to make their way into the ground, and now with 10 minutes to go until kick-off, they are in full voice, and they are answering that call from Mikel Arteta to bring their game to this. They brought their shirts, they brought their boots, and they are ready to go. But Luis Enrique said he's feeling very confident. Julien Laurent, are they right to be feeling confident, Paris Saint-Germain? Is he being honest when he says that, do you think?
Yeah, I really think they believe they can beat anybody on their day, to be fair. I think Arteta and the Arsenal players think the same, to be fair. When you beat Liverpool in the manner that PSG did, they know that if they can play at that level again and reproduce that kind of performances with the ball, without the ball, home and away, you'll have a big chance to beat Arsenal, you'll have a big chance to beat Barcelona or Inter Milan over one game. It's the question of, can you play that well again consistently? That's what the great teams do, and so we'll have to see. But the defeat against Nice, the second half at Villa Park, were maybe like good warning things for them. It's still a young team, and I think they would have learned a lot from those two defeats, especially the one at Villa Park, to make them a better team.
When it gets here, though, as well, it's all about playing with pressure as well, isn't it, Jules? And I think for PSG, well, for the modern Arsenal, this is new. For this modern Arsenal to be in this position now. But of course, for PSG, fourth time in 6 seasons in the semi-final, been in one final, not won it. You know, that's pressure.
Yeah, I think so. It's pressure for Mikel Arteta as well. You know, tonight it will be, of course, but even more next week in Paris, where depending on the game tonight, but this is not. I don't think this is a game that's going to be won 3-0 or 4-0 by either of those two teams. They would be tied. They're two very good teams. They're close to each other. But it's how you deal, how you manage with those moments, the moments where you are on top, when your team is on top, the moment where you are under pressure, how you deal with that, if you concede chances, if you don't. And that game management at this level, PSG would be slightly more used to it than this Arsenal side. But again, they're two young teams who still have a lot to learn, really, when you think about it. But they're two teams that, on their day, I think, can beat anybody.
But as you said, Enrique is the person in that mix who has the experience. Yeah. There's a really lovely piece by Tom Allnutt in the Times today where he talks about, I mean, the standout line for me isn't necessarily the most applicable one, but he talks about him eating 6 eggs a day. It just happens to be the one that stuck with me. But he talks about his fitness obsession, how obsessive he is about every little detail in his life. He's had a life as a player, as a manager. He's had real tragedy in his life. So what kind of person is he? What kind of coach is he?
I mean, with the media and everything, he's a bit. He can be a bit grumpy, and he's very direct and can clash. I think the players love him because he's got these incredible skills for man management, and yeah, he's very stubborn. He's from Asturias and he's very stubborn, and sometimes that clashes. We saw Dembele, who was not here in October because he was dropped. They had a disagreement. But overall, they love him because he has that relationship with them. He has that thing, you're right, everything he went through his life, to lose one of his daughters at the age of 9. And obviously feel sad about it, but feel like she's still very much there, and they should be happy that they had 9 years with her in their lives. To his relationship, he says that everybody should walk barefoot on grass because it puts you in connection with Earth. So every morning at 6:30 or 7 a.m. he goes to the training ground and walks around the pitch barefoot, regardless of the weather, in winter, in summer, in spring. He loves doing that. He says you shouldn't stay more than 30 minutes without doing press-ups. So every 30 minutes his watch is kind of rings, and he does 10 or 15 press-ups. And you should do that, Kelly, Matthew, John, all of us. Every half an hour do some press-ups. But yeah, he's got that intensity in him that I think he's a fascinating character.
To be the head coach of a team that's in a Champions League semi-final, so I think I can skip that kind of preparation from Luis Enrique. Just to let you know what's happening here, you can hear the noise. What you can't see are the flares and the fireworks that are going off all the way around the Emirates. And over to our left, a huge flag has been raised from the bottom of the stand all the way to the top, depicting the cannon for the Arsenal fans. John Murray, as we know from Aston Villa's exploits in the Champions League, is a connoisseur of the tifo. John, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, love this one. Simple. Even I can work out what that is.
Look, for the game itself, some of these matchups are going to be really, really interesting. And one of the ones that could be pivotal in this game is going to be Doué up against Mars Lewis Skelly, because they are both such young, such exciting talents, and potentially explosive talents as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we discussed the show this morning with producer Vic, we talked about that, and we said the name is perfect. It's the battle of the teens, because I can't remember a semi-final of the Champions League where you had an 18-year-old in a direct matchup with an 18-year-old, and to be 18 and 19 and show this talent and this maturity for both of them. And to be fair, they've been thrown in at the deeper end, both of them. Lewis Kelly, we didn't expect for him to play that much, and he's a midfielder that plays a left back. And Doué just arrived from Rennes and has been outstanding since the turn of the year. So incredible matchup, like many others tonight.
Matt, just having a look around the ground, the Arsenal fans have got their scarves raised as they sing this anthem that has become such a crucial part of their match day preparations. But tonight feels a bit different.
It does feel different, and last time I was here was the Real Madrid game, and it was the best atmosphere I'd sampled in this stadium by far. If they can produce anything like that tonight, it's going to be special. I think Declan Rice's free kicks helped, because it just got everyone so hyped. But it was a special atmosphere in the Emirates, and it certainly feels like that again now.
Imagine walking out onto the pitch to this.
Yeah, it's the kind of stuff that, you know, your spine's tingling. Even as a player, you're walking out, it must be incredible for these guys. It's bad enough sitting here kind of being present and experiencing it, but to walk out and play and then be able to just go ice cold, put it all to one side, and just treat this as a clinical game of football. This is a job. This is what is my job tonight? How can I perform? And then you're just in that zone. And I think, you know, that's the special thing about sport at this level, being able to kind of differentiate that and then go and perform at a high level, and all these guys have to do that this evening.
Jules, how much of a part do you think set pieces might have in this game?
Massive, there's no doubt. PSG are not good at it defensively or offensively. They never score on set pieces. And Donnarumma is not very good at coming out for crosses on set pieces or anything like that. They conceded a goal here back in October. They conceded many, and Arsenal are very good at it. I don't know. The message for the PSG players have been quite simple from Luis Enrique and the staff, and it's easier to say than to do it. Don't give them free kicks, wide free kicks. Don't give them corners. So let's see if they can do that.
The big banner across from us here at the Emirates says make it happen. That has been the messaging from Mikel Arteta. Can Arsenal do it in the first leg of this Champions League semi-final? Taking you through the match, the first 45 minutes, Matthew Upson and John Murray, who always insists on being introduced over the strains of the Champions League anthem.
I was just thinking, Kelly, that big banner on the other side, make it happen, wasn't that a BBC phrase at one stage? I think it was.
Probably, there's been enough of them.
We've had a few over the years. Well, not entirely sure if it worked for the BBC. Maybe it did, I can't remember. Let's hope it works for Arsenal tonight. Big night, big match. Thanks for joining us for it on BBC Radio 5 Live. They've got the Champions League theme in tune tonight. Not like Villa Park when Paris Saint-Germain came for the second leg of the quarter-final. But in that match, PSG were given a bit of a second-half surprise by Unai Emery and his team. But here tonight, this is different. This is the semi-final. Tonight, Arsenal playing in a Champions League semi-final for the first time for 16 years. The players are out there in their tracksuit tops, both navy blue actually. Marquinhos leads his team along the line, the handshakes, the pre-match rituals, and the referee, incidentally, Slavko Vincic, who is the Slovenian who was the referee for the Champions League final at Wembley last season. So a team of Slovenian officials, and now those PSG tracksuit tops have been peeled off to reveal an all navy blue kit with the white trim. And Arsenal likewise, they don't use the bomber jackets in the Champions League. Instead, it's much more plain and simple, and the Arsenal players are lining up for their team photograph. This is that team. Raya is the goalkeeper, Kimber, Saliba, Kipior and Lewis Skelly. Incidentally, Miles Lewis Skelly tonight becoming the youngest Englishman to play in the Champions League semi-final, 18 years old. Midfield, Rice, Odegaard and Merino, Saka, Trossard and Martinelli. So no Thomas Partey because of his suspension. He will be available for the Parc des Princes next week. And PSG, Bradley Barcola is on the bench. So the team is Donnarumma in goal. We've got some history, haven't we? English teams, English clubs, the national team with Donnarumma. Back four of Hakimi, Marquinhos, Pacho and Nuno Mendes, then Vitinha, João Neves and Fabian Ruiz, and then Desiré Doué on the right, the 19-year-old, the brilliant Georgian Kvaratskhelia on the left-hand side, and Ousmane Dembele, the top scorer with 32 goals this season as the central striker. What a prospect it is, Matthew Upson. Mikel Arteta says it's one of the biggest matches the Emirates Stadium has seen. But before it gets underway, everyone is going to gather around the centre circle, all of the players. Everyone rise to their feet for a moment of silence in memory of His Holiness the Pope Francis. just slightly disorganised that, because the players were gathered together by the referee while Arsenal's players were still in their huddle and were unaware of what was happening. So that was the reason that was a little elongated, and there were a couple of referees' whistles. But a man of justice and peace is what was written on the black and white photograph on the big screens of Pope Francis. So we're ready to go. Both teams, both managers yesterday talking about making history. I think that's what makes this semi-final all the more interesting and intriguing. The fact it's between these two clubs, Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain, who have never won the famous trophy with the big handles. The referee blows his whistle, and the first leg of this semi-final begins with PSG kicking off, and the ball hit long downfield by Vitinha and out of play for a throw-in to Arsenal. So neither club has won this trophy. One of them will be in Munich next month for the final, and there will be great disappointment for the other. Throw-in to Arsenal, up towards Bukayo Saka, pivotal figure in that victory over the record winners, the holders Real Madrid, in the quarter-finals. Saka again, still inside his own half, tries to thread it forward, and Fabian Ruiz wins it back from Saka. Here is Dembele, the dangerous PSG number 10. A chorus of boos for Dembele. Remember, he didn't play here in October when Arsenal won 2-0 in the league phase of the competition after a breach of discipline. Luis Enrique left him out that night. Arsenal won by 2-0. And then Bukayo Saka just gets a touch on that against Nuno Mendes, and the ball runs out of play near the halfway line.
I don't think you can underestimate how big a call that was from Luis Enrique that night either, because that sent a message to his group of players, hasn't it? You know, the discipline, what he expects. You can be the star player, you can be the big player, but if you don't work hard for each other, or you're not quite filling in where you need to be in his mind, you won't play. And I think that there's no coincidence this PSG team has just grown since that moment, and now they're a pretty efficient, hard-working team that get about the pitch and try and make life difficult. And let's see how Arsenal cope with that this evening.
Arsenal are pressing them while PSG have possession, and Hakimi is forced to play the ball long downfield, and that just gives possession back to Arsenal. And Miles Lewis-Skelly knocks it across for Raya, who passes it out through the middle, and Marino was put under pressure. His pass was a little short out there to the far side, and the challenge came in, and that has resulted in a free kick to PSG for the challenge on Hakimi, 10 yards inside the Arsenal half. So PSG take it short, back into the centre circle. Beautiful night after what's been a beautiful day in London. The sun has shone, it's been warm, and it is dry here tonight. And the PSG supporters with a massive banner which reads Ultras, that's being stayed in position right at the front of their section. Many of them are bare-chested in there as well. Familiar area for the away fans at the Emirates Stadium. Vitinha, the former Wolves midfielder, who has really grown in this Luis Enrique team. Here he is with the curly black hair. It is quite a short midfield. João Neves and Vitinha. Fabian Ruiz, the Spanish European Championship winner, is the tallest of the three of them. Ball out towards the right-hand side, and PSG now are enjoying a feel of the ball.
Yeah, this is no problem for Arsenal in that sense. If anything, I think they're quite happy for PSG to have the ball in, and here Martin Odegaard really leading the press for Arsenal.
However, Dembele has dropped deep, and he's received it in the centre circle, and Dembele is off on a run now through the middle, and he gives it out to Kvaratskhelia on the left-hand side. Kvaratskhelia against Timber, stabs it back to the edge of the area. Dembele with a shot, it's in! Through a crowd of players, in off a post. PSG have an early lead, and it's their danger man, the big danger man, the top scorer, Dembele, with his 33rd of the season, who has struck Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1, less than 4 minutes played at the Emirates.
Wow, it's the purpose and the speed of Kvaratskhelia that was just absolutely blistering, I have to say. I mean, they played through the lines really well, PSG, into midfield, it goes wide, and the distance that Timber has, he just can't make it up. And the speed that Kvaratskhelia gets on the ball, and his first touch is just to drive into the box. He's so aggressive with his decision making, he draws the midfield players towards him, and Dembele's just pulled out on the edge He flicks the ball with the outside of his right boot and it's bouncing towards him. It's actually a really well controlled effort with his left foot right on the 18-yard box line.
So deep into his own half to receive possession in the centre circle. Arsenal didn't deal with him, they were nowhere near him. He was able to take the ball on through the middle. Then the man that they signed in January, the dangerous Georgian, Kvaratskhelia on the left-hand side, running at Kimber, and then Dembele finding a position, edge of the area, bang, 1-0.
He was powerful, wasn't he, Kvaratskhelia? The way he went at it, I mean, the speed, his touch, it was just... It was menacing, wasn't it? It had real feel of purpose. And the little offload, the little flick with the outside of his right boot to the edge of the box. And like you said, John Dembele just pulling there, pulled the trigger first time, and it's on target. It's actually a tough ball to score from, but he does so well to hit the target. It's a cracking start from the Paris team.
Well, Dembele, as I say, 33 goals now this season, 8 in the Champions League. He'd not scored in his last 5 appearances. He's kept one for the big occasion tonight. And PSG 1-0 up early on. It's not going to be Real Madrid all over again, is it?
Well, clearly not. But, you know, Arsenal, there's plenty of time left in this tie, and they have to just gather themselves together. I mean, it's given PSG a massive boost. And I was saying that Arsenal won't be too, you know, disappointed if they don't have the ball.
To the near post, flicked on by Martinelli, but big Donnarumma is there to catch it now.
Yeah, they're not too bothered if they don't have the ball, Arsenal, because they're set up so well defensively. But PSG did play through them really nicely there with a couple of passes, and that's something that will just maybe keep Arsenal on the back foot a little bit.
Handball given against Timber, who dispossessed Nuno Mendes, but the assistant quickly flagged and it's a free kick to PSG in their own left-back position. So this is BBC Radio 5 Live. The atmosphere already punctured by that early goal for PSG in the 4th minute. So Paris Saint-Germain, who did reach the final, if you remember, Thomas Tuchel's Paris Saint-Germain, their only Champions League final, the COVID season, when they lost to Bayern Munich, when the Parisian Kingsley Coman scored the goal against them, against Thomas Tuchel's side. But they have, as we've said, over the course of the second half of this season, this is the best side of Paris Saint-Germain that we've seen, as they go all the way back to Donnarumma on the edge of his area.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Arsenal's midfield as well. I mean, I think Marino is actually playing really deep, and Rice and Odegaard are getting higher up the pitch. If anything, Marino is the deepest midfield player in Arsenal's trio.
So quite the early setback for Mikel Arteta and his team, but as Matt Upson rightly says, there's a long way to go. Fabian Ruiz, second leg is next Wednesday, so a week tomorrow. You'll hear that with us on 5 Live. We'll be live in the Parc des Princes. But right now, PSG with the edge, and here's Hakimi. Doué to the edge of the area. Brilliant little run from him. Such quick footwork there. Found a bit of space on the edge of the penalty area, but it was blocked away. Comes out now as the ball is lifted over the top, but all the way through by Dembele for Raya to catch the ball as it bounced up in front of his body. Saliba playing the ball across the back. Rice on the edge of the area, and then Saliba again playing it back into the box to Raya, who very carefully passes it out to Declan Rice, and then Arsenal begin to move forward. Timber, the Arsenal right back, with the PSG left back putting pressure on him, so Arsenal have to play around him, but they do. Rice, man of the match in both legs against Real Madrid, to Marino. Now here's Martinelli into the match for the first time. Martinelli beats his man, goes for the byline, and then there's a deflection there which takes it behind for Arsenal's first corner.
Yeah, that's exactly what Arsenal want. They're delighted with a set piece, a corner. Martinelli, you just feel whenever he squares up Hakimi on that far side, he's just going to want to go for the outside of him. And even if he doesn't get the cross into the box, Hakimi's going to block it out for a corner. Arsenal can get set up, and this is something that PSG, they must have worked on, John, because it's such a key weapon that Arsenal have, and it hasn't been a strength of theirs this season, PSG.
So it's a corner. I see someone's got a laser. You can see the laser pen, can't you? That green light is darting around, trying to put PSG off. So, you know, could do without that, obviously. So it's a corner. Declan Rice to take it from the left-hand side. Arsenal so potent, as I'm sure you know, with set pieces. Rice, it's a deep one, this, and it's headed across goal. by Marino, and then PSG get it away, and Hakimi on the chase. Trossard with a challenge. Hakimi goes down, and referee Vincic is straight across with the yellow card for Trossard. He tried with his body language there, Trossard, to suggest there was nothing in that, but the referee's seen that as a foul that broke up the PSG counter-attack. Free kick, Paris Saint-Germain, yellow card, Trossard.
Yeah, I mean, Hakimi's got a bit of pace, hasn't he? Wow, he really put the burners on. Trossard running back to the halfway line, and I'm just looking at the replay. There probably is enough contact from Trossard. You're running at that speed, you can't put your arms all over a player, and he goes down, you're going to pick up a yellow card, and I think the referee probably is justified to dish that one out.
That reminds me as well, Matt, to mention that all of the yellow cards, the players who were on yellow cards in inverted commas, they were all wiped after the quarter-final. So partly suspended for this, but all yellow cards wiped. So it's a clean slate to begin the semi-finals. Dembele now out to the right-hand side. Here is Doué. Doué with that blonde highlights, shoots low, but Raya's able to go down to his left. I think it might even have been going wide anyway, but he mishit it, and it was a comfortable one for Raya to go down to his left and say.
Sharp start, John, isn't it, from Paris, I have to say. Again, I mean, we're talking about they're not in sparkly form of, you know, the last 4 or 5 games, but they have started this game with supreme purpose, confidence. They look really, really sharp.
The team that knocked out Aston Villa, the team that knocked out Liverpool, the team that hammered Manchester City in the Parc des Princes in the league phase. Here's Vitinha as Arsenal have lost possession. Vitinha flicking a pass out towards the far side. Doué just has to backtrack, the 19-year-old, and then pull a pass to William Pacho, the impressive Ecuadorian central defender, another of the youngsters, just 23 years old, with the experienced captain Marquinhos, the Brazilian captain, to his right. Here's Nuno Mendes, whose stock seemed to have absolutely soared this season. Remember how the 2 fullbacks scored the first 2 goals at Villa Park in the second leg. Hakimi with the early opening goal there, and Nuno Mendes scored in both legs against Aston Villa, and that 3rd goal in the first leg proved to be so crucial. Here he is again, the Portuguese, the number 25, Nuno Mendes, passing it forward to Kvaratskhelia, who is challenged by Timber, who tried to get his leg around Kvaratskhelia to tote the ball away, which he did, but he caught the calves of the Georgian as well, and it's a free kick to PSG.
Yeah, it's a fair old calf to catch as well, isn't it? I mean, he's pretty strong, Kvaratskhelia, and he just plants himself really well.
Long pass over to the right-hand side. Doué gets it down. He's into the box now. Plays it back to Hakimi, who goes full 360 degrees as Arsenal force PSG back to the halfway line. Marquinhos now out again to Vitinha, and then PSG begin the build-up again from the halfway line. So Paris Saint-Germain with the early goal. If you've just joined us on 5 Live, here is Kvaratskhelia, who set it up for Dembele. Kvaratskhelia, Arsenal have got 2 men on him. Saka is back with Timber, still going. Kvaratskhelia trying to work a corner, which he does off the shins of Timber, and a corner to PSG from the left.
I mean, Saka's dropping all the way back in to double up with Timber in those 1v1s with Kvaratskhelia. He's a tough customer. They know he can go either way. It's so tricky for Timber. You don't know whether he wants to go on the outside or the inside, and he's just as devastating with either foot.
So it is a corner. 4th official is just talking to Mikel Arteta, because the set-piece coach, Nicolas Jaubert, is in the coaching area as well. So there's a bit of discussion going on there. Doué gets it back, cross in towards the back post, which is headed down, then stabbed back to Hakimi with a shot across the penalty area. That's blocked in there. João Neves now back to Hakimi again. Oh, dangerous looking ball, which is headed by Marquinhos, but close enough to Raya to make quick ground to his right and catch it.
Yeah, it's a nice delivery in. And Marquinhos, who had stayed up from the set play, was just floating around in the middle of the box, and it came onto his head. He got a glancing header onto the ball. It's another chance for PSG, really. I mean, safely into the hands of Raya, but another warning shot.
This already feels edgy to me, Matt.
It does, yeah. It's had that start. It's been such a confident, controlling start from PSG. It really has.
As Arsenal win a free kick on the halfway line, and Trossard tries to get one of the PSG players' boot. There are a couple of them there. Tried to take it quickly. It was hit into... Well, Trossard is saying here, I've already got a yellow card. What about that? Luis Enrique has just come off his Arsenal dugout seat to have a word about that as well. And all that happens is Referee says just a free kick on the halfway line, so set piece. And actually Dembele has just thrown the ball back to Raya, suggesting that Arsenal are going to take this from the wrong place. So the goalkeeper's going to take this. He's going to strike this long downfield. Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Tomorrow night, Barcelona against Inter. So we'll have news of that on 5 Live Sport. Raya with this long free kick that is over the top of Marino. Won't reach that, and it skips off the surface over the advertising hoardings and into probably about 150 photographers who are behind that goal, behind the PSG goal. They are there to see Arsenal goals. We've not had a sniff of one yet.
No, there's a few here, aren't there? I mean, it was busy getting into the stadium earlier. A lot of attention on this game, but David Raya, I mean, that is taking it to the extreme. You know, I know Arsenal want set plays in the box, but I mean, he's just come all the way up to the halfway line to launch that free kick into the box. They really are trying to test that PSG back four.
Yeah, so no clean sheet for Arsenal tonight as Odegaard plays it over the top. This is for Martinelli to chase. Hakimi is able to volley it up and away.
I'm not sure he's going to get too much change out of Hakimi with on the running side of things tonight, John. He looks pretty fit and quick, Hakimi. I think Martinelli's going to have to really liven up his game.
Yes, he's one of the best as well, isn't he? As Vitinha makes a run forward down the right-hand side. Now Fabian Ruiz. Here is Kvaratskhelia getting the ball down, running at Timber again into the penalty area. 3 Arsenal men there. He's found a way through. He's gone down. Oh, was there contact there? Referee says no penalty. Kvaratskhelia gets up and runs towards the referee, who's turned his back on him. And Kvaratskhelia now palms apart to the 4th official. And clearly here, this is a bid to get VAR to look at this, which of course they'll be doing anyway.
Well, I mean, it's either a foul or, for me, a dive. I mean, there's no kind of in-between. I mean, he's running away, remonstrating with the referee, arms in the air, really adamant that it's a penalty. I mean, there are 3 players he had to go through. I couldn't really see if there was contact or not.
I think the question there is, did he initiate the contact, i.e., did he actually flick his legs against the Arsenal defender, or vice versa?
It looked like that because he was trying to squeeze through a gap that just wasn't there. There were 3 Arsenal defenders.
Well, that's a foul for Kvaratskhelia. Halfway inside his own half, this one. Timber has gone in there, and it was quite a heavy challenge, that. And the PSG captain Marquinhos has gone to the referee. Also Fabian Ruiz, one of the most experienced players in this team. They're both making the point. And let's just see, this could be a big moment here. If he decides to show a yellow card to Timber for this, that is the Arsenal right back, and Kvaratskhelia already looks as though he's in the mood to have a good night.
Yeah,
and it's not a yellow card.
No, he's got away with that, Timber. I mean, he's kind of decided enough's enough, and he's gone through the back of him really late on the halfway line. There's just no need for it. I mean, just having a look at the replay of the penalty shout, there was a left arm of Timber that comes out stretched around the waist of Kvaratskhelia, and I have to say, he's through all 3 of those defenders. He's managed to worm his way all the way through. I can see why he's got up and ran after the referee. I mean, that was an interesting call, that one.
He did throw himself down.
Yeah.
And there was not contact on his legs.
No.
But it was the arm around his middle.
Correct. And I think, was it enough? I think that they must have arrived at the decision, VAR, to say the contact's there, but it's not enough to send him to the ground.
No.
So we'll stay away as not a clear and obvious error. But you feel if the referee had given it...
Yes.
I don't think they'd overturn it. No.
It would have been a penalty.
There was something there.
But it's the right decision.
I agree.
Not to overturn it and give a penalty.
Correct. I agree with that.
Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1. They're living on the edge, Arsenal, already in this tie, even though we're still in the first 20 minutes of it. Here's Fabian Ruiz with the ball on the halfway line. There is one match in League One tonight, by the way. Burton 0, Wigan 0, and Solihull Moors 0, Rochdale 0. In the National League, both 7:45 kickoffs. Tomorrow night, as I say, we'll keep you up to date with Barcelona Inter. Tomorrow night, commentary on Manchester United Chelsea in the Women's Super League, and then do not miss Thursday night as well. 2 commentaries from the Europa League for you on the Manchester United and Tottenham semi-finals. Manchester United on 5 Live and Tottenham on Sports Extra. And PSG winning a free kick in their own defensive third and playing it back to goalkeeper Donnarumma. Yes, Ian Dennis, who was with you in Madrid, he's off to Bilbao this week. He does see the world, doesn't he?
He gets about.
He does. As Kvaratskhelia is challenged by Timber, goes down. This is 5 yards inside the PSG half. This time it's Odegaard, the Arsenal captain, who goes across to the referee with his hands in praying mode. And the referee's going to have a further word with the two captains here, probably to say to them in the old-fashioned style, I'll do the refereeing around here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Timber does too much wrong, if I'm honest. He's just got to be careful not to have too much of a nibble with this character, because he's getting his body in the way, Kvaratskhelia, that it makes it impossible for Timber to win the ball. And he's the type of fullback that likes to go at it. He'll stick at it, he'll have a nibble, he'll keep going, he'll want to tow it away, he'll want to prod the ball away. And you're running the risk of picking up a yellow card very early on in this game. He's got to be careful.
Well, next one, he'll be booked.
Yeah, he will, for sure. It doesn't matter what the tackle is or the offence, you feel like a yellow card is coming.
However, Arsenal do have Ben White available after they both missed the Crystal Palace game, White and Marino, last week. And actually the prognosis after that match didn't look too good for either of them for this first leg. But White is available as a substitute right back on the bench. Declan Rice, lovely ball down the right from Rice for the captain, Odegaard. Arsenal, red and white shirts coming forward. Here's Saka, not being able to get into the game yet. Excellent, beats two men, then the challenge. It comes out to Marino. That was tough for Odegaard. Brilliant control. Volleys it across. Marquinhos is able to head it out towards the edge of the penalty area. Doué got a touch there, and then it was whacked away, but the whistle had gone. Free kick, Paris Saint-Germain.
Well, I'm not too sure what the foul was for. I mean, it looked to me like Martinelli just bumped Marquinhos and made no attempt to head the ball, and just bumped him mid-air and stopped him getting a clean header on it. I think the ball is going back to Donnarumma's box there, and that's the right call for me. I think he no attempt to play the ball from Martinelli, and he made the foul, and then there was a collision with Doué and Marino. There's a lot going on, but PSG have started this game very well, not only with the ball, but any little skirmishes or loose balls or having to run and shut down and scrap like we know this team is good at. They've been right on it in that front as well.
Well, the three tiers of the Emirates Stadium are absolutely wrapped by this first leg of this UEFA Champions League semi-final. Paris Saint-Germain getting the early goal. Arsenal now trying to work their way back into the tie. Here's Marino, who scored the third goal here against Real Madrid, the other goal if you like. Gives it to Saka on the right-hand side. Saka now, hopes raised of Arsenal fans. Back to Timber, then back to Saka again against Nuno Mendes. Right-footed cross towards the back post. Marquinhos jumps, deflected to Martinelli. Martinelli, very tight, he pulls it across. That's cleared away and it comes out for Doué to pass it forward to Hakimi, and suddenly PSG are off. Dembele is furthest forward, but Hakimi is dispossessed by Miles Lewis-Skelly, who is then fouled by the PSG right back, and that's a free kick to Arsenal, and Miles Lewis-Skelly raises the roof.
Yeah, I mean, the referee had to keep his cool there because there was a big cry for a yellow card. Hakimi just went across the back of Lewis-Skelly as he dispossessed him brilliantly, and I think Lewis-Skelly, in fairness, he plays for that foul completely, and Hakimi's just running back, and Lewis-Skelly steps right across his path. Yes, he draws the contact, but the referee's right to keep his yellow card in his pocket because it was engaged by Lewis-Skelly, really. And I mean, there's just great matchups going on all over the pitch. The physicality and speed of this game is really special.
So no yellow card there either. Just the one shown so far to Leandro Trossard, but the referee, he could have been tempted to show at least one or two more, but it's a free kick to Arsenal. Arsenal FC with this free kick to be taken by Odegaard. So the big men are up. Kivior is there, who scored with his head against Crystal Palace at this end, the end to our right last week. Waiting and waiting for Odegaard, little steps. Here's the free kick, left-footed. Kivior's header, but it's straight at Donnarumma from maybe 12 yards out, and the big Italian goalkeeper can just hold it and gather it into his chest.
Yeah, I mean, the free kick's deep enough that PSG can hold a nice high line, so they're holding that line right on the 18-yard box line, which means that if they lose the header, which they did, it's got to be some header to beat Donnarumma from, outside of the penalty spot, and it was just safely gathered up by him.
Yeah, comfortable save, routine save, as Arsenal come again. Odegaard to Bukayo Saka. Saka back and fit now after that concern. You were there, weren't you, at Portman Road?
Yeah.
When he received that tackle from Leif Davis, but came on as a substitute against Crystal Palace last Wednesday, to much relief here, I can tell you.
Yeah,
wins a throw in.
Yeah, no, a lot of the fans were right by that side of the pitch at Portman Road, and there was just like a quiet shock of, oh no, Saka's out, but he's managed to shrug it off and get himself fit and available.
Arsenal going all the way back to goalkeeper Raya, 10 yards inside his own half, gets the ball away from Dembele, long pass, but Martinelli's in an offside position, and it's a free kick to PSG. Just to go back to the referee, as I mentioned, Champions League final referee last season, so by that definition, you know, they consider him to be either the best or one of the best, and you can understand why he's been appointed to this tomorrow night. Clement Turpin is refereeing tomorrow night.
Right, okay. He's made some good calls so far as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, given away by Nuno Mendes, and that means Arsenal could be in business. Odegaard, then Rice, infield to Marino, a little pass through the middle. Odegaard just couldn't get there. João Neves was able to get the crucial touch for Paris Saint-Germain. But Arsenal just beginning to show one or two sights of their better play, shall we say. But here's Hakimi again bursting forward. Hakimi up against Kivior, is able to get there first, give it to João Neves. Now Kvaratskhelia again against Timber, shoots across, took a deflection, but that took it into the path of Raya, who was able to drop down onto it on his left side.
I mean, I don't know what Hakimi's had for breakfast, but he is flying up and down this pitch. He really is. I mean, he's tough to contain at the moment on that right-hand side.
Moroccan international. Maybe a nice Moroccan breakfast.
Maybe.
They do those lovely eggs, don't they?
That's right.
It's that Moroccan breakfast.
That's right, yeah.
What's it called again? Here is Marino. Marino now to the left-hand side to Trossard. Trossard with a pass to Martinelli, who's on the left wing. Martinelli up against Hakimi, he's got to defend now. Then plays it back though, Lewis Skelly, his ball into the box. Trossard is there, left side of the area, and then from the angle, a weak shot really that was straight at Donnarumma, and he was able to pat it down. Producer Gary hasn't come up with the answer. Engineer Tanya has. Shakshuka, Gary.
I was going to say, I'll let you pronounce that. I'm struggling enough with Kvaratskhelia, to be honest. I don't know if anyone else is having trouble with that one, but it's not rolling off the tongue.
Right, okay. Well, sometimes a shakshuka rolls off the tongue beautifully. Here's João Neves, then to Hakimi, who's on the halfway line. Little pass back to João Neves. And then back it goes into the PSG half. Nearly half an hour played. Paris Saint-Germain with the edge. Luis Enrique, already a Champions League winner, remember, as a manager with Barcelona, when he had Messi and Neymar and Luis Suarez, that incredible front line.
Unbelievable, that one.
Yeah. Plus everybody else as well, of course. Busquets and Iniesta. And trying to win it for the second time, and he would be hailed in Paris for the rest of his life if he's the one, if he's the manager who's able to win this trophy finally for the Qatari ownership. Arsenal back in possession with Saliba. Here's Declan Rice, deep lying position. He's not had the influence yet, Declan Rice, in this game. You can't be brilliant all the time, can you? As the ball is passed back by Marino to Raya. We talked about the absence of Partey. Do you think we're seeing that already in the match?
Yeah, I think you see the difference in the balance of the midfield for sure. I mean, it's not ideal because it was just so well oiled and so well put together. The PSG are looking a real threat at times, certainly in the wide areas, and Partey really does drop over into the full-back position and help out in that area.
Groans because Kivior's pass was overhit. Put his hands on his head there because he knew that he'd overhit it, and it's out of play for a throw into PSG halfway inside their own half. Luis Enrique, a little grey in the hair, his curly hair, white trainers on tonight, but all in black, and he's got a zip up sort of blues on, like a light bomber jacket, isn't it, that he's wearing. Television cameras have shown us that Arsene Wenger is here. He's got a bit of a pained expression on his face, Matt, which I'm sure you saw.
Yes,
quite a number of times.
I've seen that a few times. Well, actually, not that often. But he good to see him here, be enjoying this game for sure.
He was the manager last time Arsenal were in a Champions League semi-final, and indeed the only time Arsenal were in a Champions League final in 2006. That season they beat Villarreal, remember, in the semi-finals when Jens Lehmann made that penalty save from Riquelme right at the end of the second leg in Spain. Very tight semi-final, that one. Long and forward for PSG, but Nuno Mendes has hit that straight out of play, so it's a throw into Arsenal near the halfway line. It is Burton 0, Wigan 0 at half-time in the League One match tonight, and Arsenal, Timber is being told to go back into his own half for this throw-in, which he takes infield to Odegaard, who lifts it over the top of Pacho, but Pacho got his body in the way of Odegaard, and it was played back to Donnarumma. Just in my eye line there, the PSG fans behind Donnarumma in the stands, so vibrant. They're on their feet, they're waving their arms and their flags in the air, giving their teams terrific support. This is a little taste of what it'll be like in the Parc des Princes next week. Long pass from midfield. This is for Dembele to chase onto. Dembele up against Saliba. He's forced him wide. He's done well, Saliba. Still Dembele in possession though. Dembele with the ball at his feet. Those orange boots, clips it across all the way to Doué. Doué on his right foot shoots. Oh, brilliant save, Raya. Comes out to Kvaratskhelia. Kvaratskhelia right foot hits the post, bounces out, and then Arsenal scrape it away. Not out of play yet, and then the offside flag comes, and I think that was against Kvaratskhelia, so I'm not sure the goal will have stood. But that looked for all the world that the Kvaratskhelia shot would hit the post and deflect into the goal, but it stayed out.
Well, it's another brilliant piece of quality and play from PSG. I mean, they switch flanks, so Doué's just come over to the left-hand side, and Kvaratskhelia has gone over to the right, and it just threw Arsenal a little bit. I think it's the shot that came in before the one that came off the post that's the offside, but the effort from Doué was brilliantly saved from David Raya. Really, he had to adjust his weight and get down low to his right-hand side, but I have to say, John, there is big warning signs in this game, and Arsenal can't afford to go 2 down.
It's this front three that actually they weren't at their best at Villa Park. Of all of the matches we've seen recently live, that was the match in which the front three had least impact, but they look mighty dangerous here tonight, this three, with Barkler on the bench, Ramos as well.
I mean, he's done nothing wrong, Barkler, has he, to lose his place in the team. He's had a good season, he's been playing well, but I've just seen a couple of flashes from Doué over the far side, and he's on this near side now because they've switched. He looks super bright with his feet.
So here is now Kvaratskhelia, who's actually central. He's received this ball in the centre circle, but then makes his way out towards the right-hand side. What we don't know is whether if Doué had found the net with that shot that was really outstandingly saved by Raya, whether that would have stood.
I think that was okay. I think it's then the one off the post that the flag went up.
So 1-0 to Paris Saint-Germain. It could easily be more. That save there could be absolutely
it was big,
pivotal. Arsenal halt. But the signs are, have to say, if you've just switched on to us and have heard the news, Ousmane Dembele scoring his 33rd goal of the season. It's looked more like a second PSG goal than an equaliser for Arsenal, and now Martinelli's been dispossessed by Fabian Ruiz. He's tackling back illegally, says the referee, fouled Fabian Ruiz, who went to ground near the centre spot, and it's a free kick to the French champions.
Yeah, it's a shame. Martinelli, great reaction after losing the ball, but then the tackle, he's got to almost like hook his foot around to try and win it. If he'd have done that, I don't think Fabian Ruiz knew he was there. And I'm looking at the midfield, and we talked about the physicality of Arsenal in that area of the pitch. Well, for me at the moment, it's been PSG that have got the upper hand in and out of possession. They've just been brilliant through the middle, and then the front three are coming to life with the ball when they get fed.
Matthew Upson, Arsenal and England defender, Champions League player, Premier League winner with Arsenal during the Wenger years. Here's Dembele on the left flank. That Timber has had a tough night. Timber is able to win the ball this time and pass it forward.
I think he's happy that they've had a little switch up and Doué's over his side now, and he can try something a little bit different. I don't know which one.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know which one you'd prefer.
I know what was uncomfortable was Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah.
In some ways, actually, it's a surprise that they've done that.
Yeah, I mean, he was really putting Timber under pressure, wasn't he? Now he's going to have a good go at Lewis Skelly.
Kvaratskhelia swings a high pass right across the field. Well, here it is now. It's Doué against Timber. Timber backpedaling. Saka's able to get a touch in on that, arriving to help him out. But he couldn't get the ball away, Saka, so had to give it back to Timber, who then passes it back to Saka, who is being fouled by Fabian Ruiz, and you can hear Arsenal supporters on their feet baying for a yellow card for Fabian Ruiz, but it's only a free kick.
I mean, the best way to describe this game at the moment is that the two wide of the front three of PSG are having way more of the ball than what the two wide of Arsenal's front three are in Martinelli and Saka. They're not really being impactful at all in this opening 35 minutes, but you know, the two wide for PSG of that front three have just had so much of the ball and creating a lot of damage.
1-0 PSG, could easily be 2 with that excellent save from Raya from Doué. But Arsenal now coming forward. They've been up against it during this first half, but Trossard, Miles Lewis Skelly is there. He shields the ball and is challenged and wins a free kick.
I mean, he's one of the best at that, Lewis Skelly. He really is. He puts body between man and ball so well. He's very
like little John McGinn, isn't he?
Yeah, he just throws himself in there, and he knows that worst case scenario, if he can't twist out or wriggle out of it, he wins a free kick, and he's done it in an area that's quite deep. It's relatively central. It's probably about 18-yard box wide, but a good 15 yards or so deeper, but it's still got enough angle for Martin Odegaard to be able to wrap his left foot around this ball and put a delivery into the box that is in range of scoring from with a header.
What a dream season he's having, isn't he? Miles Lewis Skelly only made his debut in September. Now he's an England international, scored on his debut. Thomas Tuchel's first match, playing in a Champions League semi-final tonight. Been part of the team that beat Real Madrid. Played very, very well in that as well. Wins the free kick here, and Odegaard's going to take this dangerous position. Odegaard's delivery doesn't beat Kvaratskhelia, who's the first man who was able to easily head it away. That was a waste. That was unlike Arsenal. Long and forward from Raya, centre circle. That's chested down on the left-hand side. Marino pulls it back. Oh, Rice challenged by João Neves, and now Donnarumma has been involved in something. Marquinhos has fallen over, and Marino is down inside the 6-yard box as well. The referee spotted it all. He's blown his whistle, and he's run over there to find out what's going on. Marino, I think maybe Marino and Marquinhos have come together.
Well, it's a brilliant piece of defensive midfield play. João Neves, I mean, he is that type of player that just gets about the pitch, and he's right on cue here. Marino about to pull the trigger. Kivior cuts the ball back. He's 6 yards out. If he's not there, João Neves is in the back of the net, and I think that Marino would just slot that home, but he gets there and he gets across fairly, and he wins the ball. He toes the ball away, and Marino kicks the back of his leg, which is where the rough and tumble came from. Really ends up on the floor, Marino, and then there's a little bit of afters, but super play from João Neves. Really does his job well for his team.
That's the best we've seen from Arsenal, actually.
Yes, best chance by far.
But as you say, Matt, João Neves' tackle, I mean, that was exemplary.
Excellent.
So 1-0 PSG lead. This is 5 Live from the BBC, live from the Emirates Stadium in balmy North London. Here's Saka with his heels on the white line. Kvaratskhelia has come back. Saka tries to go past him. Kvaratskhelia puts in the challenge. Saka keeps his feet, then shoots from the angle, but straight at Donnarumma, who, for the big man, goes down very sharply onto his knee and is able to comfortably field the bouncing ball.
They're still waiting to really get Saka into this game, Arsenal. I mean, they've had a couple of little moments, but he's up against a player that's in sparkling form in Mendes, and I think that matchup at the moment Mendes is just coping pretty well with Saka, and we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Oh, Pacho was too casual there. Saka's won it back from him. Saka takes it back out of the penalty area, plays it square. Marino rolls it out to the left to Trossard, and PSG are now back in position. That was very casual from Pacho. Saka though still centrally. Saka back to Trossard, who's got PSG players either side. Oh, Saka's done brilliantly. He's beaten two of them and then gets the ball in. Oh, the stretch. Martinelli can't get there, and the ball drifts between him and the goal and all the way through for a goal kick beyond the far post.
Yeah, just as I said, Saka isn't influencing the game enough. He pops up on the other side. I mean, he gets all the way over to the left just as the play develops. I will say PSG don't often get blue shirts around the man on the ball. They really do try and suffocate any player that has it, but he whips a lovely ball in, Saka, with his left foot over the top of Donnarumma, and Martinelli at full stretch. I mean, it looks like he could have done maybe a little bit better with the contact. He is at full stretch, in fairness to him, but he tries to get his right foot on. He's got an open goal to put the ball in the back of the net. He just can't get the contact.
Dembele with a challenge, both jumping for the ball on Declan Rice. That's a free kick. Luis Enrique doesn't like that decision. So 1-0 it is. Could easily have had more than the one goal, but just that opener in the 4th minute from Ousmane Dembele, shot in off a post from the edge of the area, created by Kvaratskhelia. Well, actually the move started by Dembele and finished by the French World Cup winner himself, who has now scored 28 goals in his last 28 appearances. That is the measure of him, and he is right on contention for the much talked about Ballon d'Or with a record like that. Raya takes this long after, pulled across by Marino, takes a deflection which took it up in the air, and Donnarumma calmly caught it, arms stretched above his head. But the long free kick causing problems there.
Yeah, it was. It's been attacked, hasn't it? Any free kick around the halfway line, Raya is all the way up, and Arsenal are taking every opportunity they can to put the ball in the PSG box, and rightly so, actually. Marino does so well to keep that alive.
Timber grappling with Kvaratskhelia, but legally, and then ball out of play. Kvaratskhelia claiming that should have been a PSG throw. The man who was signed from Napoli in January, which is that Napoli might win the league in Italy after a mini collapse from Inter. Napoli currently top of the table. It just seems like a week or so Antonio Conte was explaining why it was he wasn't going to win the league with Napoli, and now there they are at the top of the table. Here's Raya slipping as he plays the ball downfield. Saka chasing Nuno Mendes. Nuno Mendes gets a hand in the back, and then Saka wins it back, but the free kick's given. Saka's furious.
Is it a yellow card for that?
Oh, and the yellow card is out for Saka as well, and I think that's for kicking the ball away. That is careless.
Yeah, it is. It is. He's lost his cool there, Bukayo Saka. It's not often you see that. Really don't see that very often. But the referee's pulled it back, or the linesman, shall we say, for the foul on Mendes, who I don't think you're going to get much change out of him in terms of beating him for pace over the top. He's really quick. But there's a little shove from Saka, and it really isn't a lot. And I think Mendes is deciding, shall I go down off of that? Can I just fall off the ball? And he doesn't. And then Saka, for me, cleanly wins the ball in the tackle. But it's almost brought back for the little shove, which actually isn't enough to put him to ground. But you know, when you're behind a player, you do give him a little nudge and the momentum's there. It does look like a foul.
Arsenal have lost it, but that was excellently recovered by Marino. I thought Dembele was going to be in there, and Arsenal played away from the back. Timber. Excellent challenge from Kvaratskhelia, and Kvaratskhelia now cutting in field. Timber tries to catch him, and he does. And Timber comes out with the ball, and then he's fouled by Hakimi, and that's a free kick.
It's his second.
And now there's the yellow card that comes for the PSG right back, and he's the first Paris Saint-Germain player to be booked by referee Vincic.
Yeah, Arsenal need a little bit more of that from what Timber just showed there. You lose the ball, you get back in, you muscle the player out of the way. They need to show a bit more physicality for me in this game, Arsenal. If they do it, and confident enough to do it, they've got the match in that sense, and Hakimi had to foul him, and it's his second foul of that type, which is why the yellow card came out.
But moments before that, the Saka yellow card, that was for kicking the ball away. It wasn't for the challenge on Nuno Mendes.
No.
And a couple of points to be made there. I think I'm right in saying, aren't I, that Arsenal have had 2 men sent off this season, receiving second yellow cards for kicking the ball away.
Yes.
Rice and Trossard at Manchester City. And do you remember a very famous red card that was shown to Van Persie in the Champions League for kicking the ball away? As here is Odegaard in the centre circle, and Mourinho is pulled over by Marquinhos. That's a free kick. Now Mourinho is saying to the referee, arms stretched forward, what about that for a yellow card? The referee keeps it in his pocket. Free kick taken quickly. Here's Saka on the right. We're in the 45th minute. We could talk about this first half for the entire half-time break, couldn't we?
There's a lot going on.
Kelly Cates is here with us. She will set out probably to do that. Here is Miles Lewis-Skelly. Oh, lovely pass! Martinelli's in! Saved by Donnarumma! And then it deflects away, and then there's a foul by Saka. One-on-one Martinelli, and Donnarumma makes the save.
Well, that's, the moment of the game for Arsenal for sure, and Donnarumma has come up with the answer. Brilliant save from him. I mean, he's on his right foot, lovely slipped pass in between Hakimi and Pacho, gets it a little bit caught under his feet, Martinelli, and you're never too confident with his finishing in terms of this position. He's not clinical enough when you get to this level. You have to take those chances. If anything, I think he's probably better off going high and into the near post, like throwing a bit of disguise on it, because Donnarumma's so big and he's able to get his big hand on the ball as you're shaping up to go to the far post. And then Odegaard was going to pull the trigger. The ball was popping out to him, but it just didn't make it to him. Really good chance for Arsenal. Yeah,
in added time, 1 minute of added time. The whistle's going to go any minute now. Referee Vincic, I think he'll be pleased to get into his dressing room at half-time. Slavko Vincic. And there is the half-time whistle. And before he gets into his dressing room, he's going to be booed off the field, I can tell you that much. But there we are, half-time. Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1. The early goal from Dembele, but the chance right at the end of the half. Martinelli, who ran away and scored in the Bernabeu, the clinching goal, didn't he?
Yeah.
Took that away beautifully, but wasn't able to beat Donnarumma here tonight.
No, he just wasn't able to find the finish. I mean, it was a lovely slipped move. I just feel like Arsenal, in the last 5-10 minutes, I think they've just realised they've got to make this game a little bit ugly, a little bit scruffy, and really make life difficult for PSG, who have been very dominant in this first half.
Yeah, and it was indeed very loudly and throatily booed off the field. So it's been a tough match to referee. Trossard and Saka yellow carded for Arsenal players. Saka kicking the ball away. Hakimi with that yellow card for Paris Saint-Germain. So there we are. Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1 here at half-time. And as I say, Kelly Cates is sitting just along from us here.
And the atmosphere here at the Emirates could be described as fevered. Is there a sense that that's transmitting itself to the pitch, do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I think when the game starts like it did, I think it just sends maybe a little bit of panic, and then everyone gets a little bit edgy, and then you're right, I think the atmosphere changed a little bit, and Arsenal have got to kind of wrestle that back. I think the way to do that is by being more dominant, being more physical. The way they've got to this place is by being that team that can cope with what PSG will throw at them, and PSG have done what they do very well in the first half. I will say it's been a real challenge for Arsenal.
And I know that the officials had a very hostile reception as they were making their way off the pitch. Yeah. I'm not sure they've got quite as many decisions wrong as maybe the home crowd think, but there's certainly been some European fouls given and not given in this one. It feels like very much a Champions League refereeing performance.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, Saka's won the yellow card. You can't disagree with that. You can't kick the ball away once the foul's been given. I mean, that was a blatant, lack of discipline from Saka. I mean, it's dissent, isn't it? And I don't think the referee's got too much wrong. I think he's got the balance right. The penalty shout from the Georgian. I just feel that he's running through the players, and there's a bit of contact from Lewis Skelly. So I think all in all, the referee's had a a tricky game to manage, but I think he's done okay.
Yeah, and Kvaratskhelia causing all kinds of problems, as we know he does. He's all over the pitch for Paris Saint-Germain, as he very often is. Every time you look up, he's somewhere else, and
he's everywhere.
It's not a lack of discipline as a player, it's just freedom in that role, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're switching sides, he's got the freedom, but they work hard as well. I mean, they're tracking back. Arsenal getting the ball, you're seeing 3 or 4 blue shirts. They like to suppress, they like to suffocate an opposition and really make life difficult when they've got the ball, and they do that well in numbers. They've got the energy, they've got the legs, and like I said, the 2 wide players of the front 3, yes, they're working backwards, but they've been such a threat when PSG have had the ball, and Arsenal have really got a game on their hands.
Do you think that Arsenal need to be reminded at half-time that we're only a quarter of the way through this 2-legged tie and there's only 1 goal in it?
I think you've got to stay calm, haven't you? I mean, the early goal does indicate that, and there's plenty of time in this tie. Like you say, you've got half-time here, then you've got another full game away from home. There's a lot that can happen, and you've got to stay in the game when the moments are bad or when the run is going bad. You stay in the game because, you know, there's a lot of football to be played as yet.
Julien Laurent is here as well. I was just checking whether or not you could hear and whether or not you could be heard, more importantly. In terms of that first half performance from Paris Saint-Germain, do you think they've been... The word I feel I want to use is smart in that first half.
Yeah, I have to say for the first 40 minutes, because the end is really an Arsenal end without Martinelli chance, but it's an impressive performance. I thought they were just outstanding. Not just the goal, and the goal really highlighted everything we said pre-match, right? This is where Partey usually is, and Rice and Merino, and Rice going to double up with Timber against Kvaratskhelia. I'm not sure he needs to go there, and then Dembele is on his own, where he should never be on his own at this level on the edge of the box like this. We've seen the goal again on our screen. It's terrible defending from an Arsenal point of view, but I thought PSG used Dembele so well when he was dropping. I thought they used their wide players so well, like Matt just, I could hear what Matt just said, and I think in midfield for most of that first half, Vitinha and Neves and Ruiz were outstanding, really.
It's half-time in this Champions League semi-final first leg between Arsenal and Paris Saint-Germain. Paris lead by 1-0, but we are only at the quarter point of this 2-legged tie, and there is only 1 goal in it. We'll be back for the second half very shortly. First, though, it's time for the BBC News with Nick Hatfield.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening. Donald Trump says he's had a very nice phone call with the Amazon boss, Jeff Bezos. Earlier, the White House criticised the online retailer over reports it was going to start showing customers how much the president's tariffs added to the cost of products. Amazon says no plan like that was ever approved. The Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has been setting out his plan to respond to President Trump's tariffs and his comments about Canada becoming the 51st US state. Mr Carney, whose Liberal Party has just won the federal elections, has been speaking to the BBC and says he'll only visit Washington when there is a serious discussion to be had.
We are the biggest client for more than 40 states. We supply them with vital energy, and it potentially could supply them with critical minerals. Remember that we supply their farmers with basically all their fertilizer, 70% of their fertilizer and beyond. So we deserve respect, we expect respect, and I'm sure we'll get it in due course again.
A suspect is on the run in Sweden after 3 people were killed in a shooting in the city of Uppsala. Local media reports say several people were injured in the attack at a hair salon in the city centre. The attacker reportedly fled on a scooter. The trial has started of 2 men accused of cutting down the famous Sycamore Gap tree next to Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland in 2023. They're charged with criminal damage. Our correspondent Eunice Muller has been at Newcastle Crown Court.
Richard Wright Casey said that after their moronic mission, that's how he described it, Daniel Graham from Carlisle and Adam Carruthers from Wigton in Cumbria kept a wedge of that trunk as a trophy. The tree itself, of course, was in the Northumberland National Park. The whole of this area is part of a UNESCO heritage site, so the trial will be looking into these factors in the coming days. Both men, of course, denied the charges.
And a performance by rappers Kneecap at the Eden Project in Cornwall in July has been cancelled. No official reason has been given, but it comes after the Belfast group apologised to the families of the murdered MPs Sir David Amos and Joe Cox for a clip on social media appearing to show one of the band members telling a crowd to kill your local MP. Police are investigating.
The Indian Premier League on 5 Sports Extra.
He's launched down the ground, up go the arms, 6 more.
The IPL, most watched tournament around the world.
The biggest names in cricket.
Good bit of glove work there from MS Sturdy.
Sam Curran strikes with his second ball.
Virat Kohli flips that one down to fine leg.
Visit the 5 Sports Extra website for a full list of commentaries.
It's straight back over his head, over the sight screen, 6 runs.
IPL. Ask your smart speaker. Play 5 Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport.
The Champions League with Kelly Cates.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Coming up, there's a huge second half for Arsenal against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League semi-final first leg. It is currently 1-0 to Paris. John Murray and Matt Upton will be with us very shortly. There's more live sport this evening. Let's head back to the Crucible quarterfinals of the World Snooker Championship. Watching that one, Jamie Broughton.
And Mark Williams is fighting back in his match against John Higgins in this battle of the snooker legends. Williams resumed trailing by 5 frames to 3 tonight, but he's now level at 6-all at the mid-session interval. The Welsh legend has knocked in breaks of 92, 50, 51 and 62. Meanwhile, on the other table, China's Zhao Jingtong is now 7-4 up against Chris Wakeling. 13 is the target for a place in the semi-finals.
Thank you, Jamie. Tomorrow on 5 Live Sport, you can hear full match commentary of Manchester United against Chelsea in WSL. Chelsea go into this one off the back of their disappointing exit from the Women's Champions League. They lost 8-2 on aggregate to Barcelona in the semi-finals. And the Champions League is the main topic on the latest Women's Football Weekly. That's available right now via the Football Daily podcast with Ben Haynes, Jen Beattie and Ellen White.
The only way to describe it for Chelsea is embarrassing, for one. And I think for Barcelona, they soaked up all that pressure. I think they knew for the first kind of 20-25 minutes that Chelsea were going to come at them. And I think the difference with like Arsenal and what Chelsea did is they picked their moments, Arsenal, whereas Chelsea just tried to just go for it. And it wasn't really, I don't think there was like a true plan in it. And then it was just executing everything up the top, wasn't there, not the right pass, the finish wasn't good enough. And then when you allow someone like Bonmati just to run the length of the pitch and just smash it into the back of the net, I feel like, you know, your shoulders just go down. You just think this is just an even harder task than what we ever thought of. And I feel like it felt like a walk in the park for Barcelona, if I'm being perfectly honest. And, you know, I've been there. I've been there with Man City, and we've played Barcelona away from home and got destroyed 3-0. We got absolutely destroyed. We came back home and we're like, this will never happen to us again. We are not then losing again 3-0. So we changed it and we won. But obviously for the whole tie, we didn't go through. But we looked at each other and thought, this cannot happen again. We cannot let them come to our home and destroy us again. We have to be smart. We have to press them in the right areas, and we have to finish when we're given the right opportunity. And it just felt like it was Barcelona's to take, and that they just destroyed them. And I just feel like Chelsea were extremely naive, and they looked quite tired, if I'm being honest, as well.
Can I ask, was it a difference in mentality, or was it a different in tactics from that going back to the second leg when you're saying you changed it?
Both, I would say, mentality and also tactics. Right. Slightly tweaked the personnel, but then also the tactics. We sat off them a bit too much in that first one. They just destroyed us. Right. And we couldn't get back into the game. And yeah, I think 3-0 was quite a good one to take home, to be honest, because it could have been a lot more. And then, yeah, we changed personnel and tactics and we just went for them. We went gung-ho and they hated it. We pressed them, we were physical, we absolutely attacked them, basically. We still obviously lost the tie, but I feel like in yourself, you can still go, well, we gave everything and we won. But I feel like you cannot go away from home and lose 4-1 and come home and lose 4-1 as well. It's just, that's not acceptable.
That was Ellen White talking on the Women's Football Weekly. That's available via the Football Daily podcast on BBC Sounds. On Thursday, Nottingham Forest could move to third in the Premier League if they win their game in hand over Brentford. Nuno Espirito Santo has been speaking today. He hasn't been shy in explaining the magnitude of their remaining games this season.
Until the end of the season, all the games are going to be very, very important for all of the teams involved in this fight. We have one game less. Let's try to do it well, perform well. We are back in the Cinti ground once again in front of our fans. It's a big help for us. We never stop believe, no matter what happens. Through the competition, we had good moments, bad moments. We've been able to react, and again, it's up to us to react and perform. All the games are the biggest game of our careers. This is how we approach it.
And that was Nuno Espirito Santo, and there will be updates of Forest against Brentford on 5 Live Sport on Thursday. Elsewhere today, QPR have placed head coach Martí Cifuentes on gardening leave, so he won't take charge of their final championship game of the season against Sunderland. Cifuentes has been linked with the West Brom vacancy. West Ham United women's team manager Rhian Skinner has signed a one-year contract extension that goes to the summer of 2026. In tennis, Britain's Jack Draper is through to the last 16 at the Madrid Open after opponent Matteo Berrettini retired injured. Next, he'll face American Tommy Paul. Meanwhile, Cam Norrie lost in 3 sets to Canada's Gabriel Diallo. The RFU have confirmed that England women's head coach John Mitchell will stay on even if the Red Roses fail to win this year's home Rugby World Cup. England, who last won the World Cup in 2014, have lost the past 2 finals to New Zealand. In Rugby League, Castleford Tigers have signed halfback Chris Acton from Super League rivals Salford. And you can listen to our commentary of this Champions League semi-final first leg alongside the final score graphics and video printer tonight. Just press the red button or go to BBC iPlayer or the BBC Sport app. Click on 5 Live final score. The players still in the dressing room ready to come out for the second half here. Julien Laurent is with us. Jules, were there signs from Arsenal's point of view? They were getting into that game towards the end of the first half, but they were starting to maybe come to terms with the magnitude of the game.
Yeah, I think so, and also the fact that PSG can plan really for the, as we said, for the first half hour or 35 minutes, 14 minutes has been so good, you know, and I think Vitinha, João Neves especially started getting a bit leggy at the end of that first half, and that's when you saw a bit more of Lewis Kelly coming inside in midfield. He created that massive chance for Martinelli right at the end, and really Martinelli should take and should do better. And for Arsenal now, it's keeping that same intensity. Can they do it though? And how will PSG start that second half and respond?
Let's find out with your commentary team here at the Emirates, Matt Upson and John Murray.
Yes, Jules just making way off back down to speak to the world. And Matt Upson next to me as we watch the players sprint out of the tunnel and the Arsenal players going into the huddle. We're not going to see any changes at half-time, it would seem. Arsenal with Raya in goal. What a super save that was from him to keep it at 1-0 from Doué. Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis Skelly. Then Marino, Rice and Odegaard in midfield. Saka and Martinelli either side of Trossard, and Paris Saint-Germain with Donnarumma in goal. Big save from him right at the end of the half. He did it at Villa Park and he did it at Anfield, didn't he, in the previous 2 rounds? Donnarumma saved. Then Hakimi, Marquinhos, Pacho and Mendes are the back 4. Vitinha with João Neves and Fabian Ruiz. Doué and Kvaratskhelia with goal scorer Dembele. The 1 goal of the match so far. First time Arsenal have been behind in a match in the knockout stages of the Champions League this season. So they need to score, obviously, clearly. Last time Arsenal failed to score here was the last time they failed to win a match. Or indeed the last time they lost a match against West Ham in the Premier League. So Arsenal kicking off the second half here at the Emirates. Odegaard back to Raya, red and white Arsenal shirt, tore forward. It's hammered downfield by the Arsenal goalkeeper, and they win a free kick for João Neves' challenge. And the Arsenal player who's gone to ground, who's Marino, has gone down clutching his head, and there's a yellow card for João Neves.
Wow.
Must be a flailing arm. That's the only thing I can assume.
I mean, yeah, that's a really poor decision from the referee in terms of the yellow card. I think João Neves jumps, wins the ball, his arm's there, protect himself. He does catch Marino with his elbow or the side of his arm, but that's just a challenge. That's just part of the game. He jumps, he competes well, he wins the ball. Can't quite understand. It's certainly not the yellow card, but in my book, that's not even a foul.
Arsenal fans coming back to their seats, Matt, so we're going to have to just get up onto our feet to see what happens. To the left, where Rice is preparing to take this free kick. Arsenal players massed at the back post. So many PSG players. I think everyone is back in there apart from the one-man wall of Dembele. Rice to play this in, right-footed. There it goes. Little glance, it's in! Arsenal score! It's the equaliser! Arsenal surround Mikel Merino, who stood Saint-Germain, and Arsenal needed that, didn't they just? Second minute of the second half, Arsenal won, Paris Saint-Germain won.
Wow, big start from Arsenal to the second half. What a needed goal. I mean, the free kick will be debated. It's very dubious, but Arsenal don't care. It's that famous kind of line of players that all run along a line and then duck into the crowd, and Marino's the one that just gets in front of Donnarumma. The PSG defenders, I think it's Pacho in there who's the deepest one, or maybe Mendes, and he just can't get to the ball ahead of Marino. It's a really good downward glancing header. I mean, it looked a really tight offside, and I think they're still having a good look at that. The referee is paused in and around the centre circle. The offside did look very, very tight, because when they run that line, John, they have to then step back onside as the delivery comes in, and it looked, I mean, it was, yeah, well, very, very tight.
Semi-automated offside is in operation in the Champions League.
Yeah.
We've not resumed play again. This looks ominous. Goal check is up on all of the screens here, waiting to see if that Marino goal will be allowed. Still the wait goes on. The Slovenian officials, the video assistant referee is also Slovenian, like the referee, Alan Borosak, and they're just waiting for the decision. We're just about to see it again now. Nice. And, I mean, so many players are grouped together. I'm not sure, I think there are so many bodies in there, I'm not sure the semi-automated offside will be able to work with that.
It won't, because they'll have to pinpoint Marino, because there were certain other Arsenal players that were offside, but they'll have to pinpoint where Marino was. And like you say, there's such a cluster of shirts that takes a little bit of time and a little bit of figuring out, and sometimes they can't even actually get that point, that final point of the body that would be offside, because as we know, camera angles can get blocked, which is why the semi-automated is so important.
There are probably, we need to see it again, but I'm thinking you might have to be looking at maybe 6 different bodies there to check which part is beyond the line.
It may work in Arsenal's favour in the sense that if it's inconclusive, they'll just go with the on-field decision. So,
and the referee is walking back now, and it's going to be ruled out. It's ruled out. So tight, so very, very tight. And the video assistant referee has ruled that it was offside. So the Marino goal is ruled out, and it remains Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1.
It had that feel about it, didn't it? It really did. I mean, when you step back in from a cluster of players, I mean, when you look at it on semi-automated, which is being shown on the screen, he looks well offside, actually, like comfortably. It wasn't even that tight, but I think just the mass of bodies made it tough to figure out.
Well, that's punctured the atmosphere almost like the Paris Saint-Germain goal in the 4th minute of the first half did. And it goes back to 1-0 Paris Saint-Germain. So tight. And it was a set piece that brought the, in inverted commas, goal. Rice's free kick as well.
Yeah, you definitely feel it's Arsenal's best play, isn't it, to put Paris under pressure with the set plays. It's just earning the opportunities to get enough set plays to really make them count.
And also the other thing, as we discussed before the match, occasion there from a set piece where Donnarumma was unconvincing. Didn't come.
No.
Stayed where he was.
No, it's difficult, and I think Marquinhos was making that point to the referee to say there's players here, they're shoving me, and the referees, I saw him just say, look, it's not my problem, this is their set play. He's offside on this occasion, but they're okay to start offside in the line, work their way in, and then just duck back in onside at the last minute. It's just hard for Arsenal to time that perfectly, and that time it was a fraction out. But that set play has worked pretty well, and Raya's now banging another one into the box.
Yeah, here's another long one downfield from the halfway line, headed across the box. Marino gets his head to that, Trossard shoots. That's blocked. Crowd of bodies. And Kivio's going to have a goal. That's deflected down into the box, and Marquinhos was there, the PSG captain, who was able to whack it away with his left foot, and eventually it's deflected out of play over on the far side for a throw into Paris Saint-Germain. So 1-0 in the semi-final. This is Arsenal's second semi-final of this season. You remember, they lost both legs to Newcastle without scoring a goal. in the Carabao Cup. Lost 2-0 here and 2-0 at St James's Park. And actually, Mikel Arteta's record, he's lost all 3 two-legged semi-finals as the Arsenal manager. They've not scored in their last 5 semi-final matches. I thought that had been broken there.
Back-to-back negative stats on the Arsenal.
Sorry about that.
It's the stats are the stats, John. You're just delivering them, but they're not great, are they? And this tie, I mean, it's a fascinating tie, but if Arsenal manage to turn this around or just hang on to this situation and even take a 1-0 out to Paris and leave it well in the balance, I think the way this game has gone, it's been a tricky one for Arsenal so far.
It has. 1-0 to PSG. He has won a semi-final. He won his first one.
But he must
to get to the FA Cup final, which he won. So there we are. That's a positive.
There you go. That's not all doom and gloom.
No, far from it. Latest scores: Burton 1, Wigan 0, and Solihull 0, Rochdale 1 in the National League. 1-0 Paris Saint-Germain here. Here is Doué cutting in from the right-hand side. Barcola on the bench for PSG. I guess we'll probably see him at some stage. We usually do. Doué still going, weaving his way, and then finally Arsenal get a touch on that. Odegaard, but it's won back from Odegaard, João Neves, and then in steps Marino crucially and sets Rice away, but Rice passes it behind Trossard, and Trossard, remember, Arsenal without the suspended party, and then that pass from Trossard is beyond Rice.
He's not had much of the ball, Trossard, in this game at all, has he? He's playing that centre forward role, but he's not been too heavily involved. He's been very deep at times. I think that lack of Thomas Partey, I know we touched on it in the build-up to the game, but it's certainly had an impact on the Arsenal team.
This is BBC Radio 5 live from the Emirates. Dry spring night. PSG leading narrowly. Second leg in Paris. We'll be there for that. Join us for it next Wednesday night. And it will be you and I, won't it? Again, for the second leg.
I'll keep an eye out for the slippery salami in Paris.
Yes, we had choux buns tonight, didn't we? A little taste of what's to come next week. 1-0 PSG leading here. Big week of football commentaries for you all midweek. Women's Super League tomorrow night, Manchester United against Chelsea. We'll keep you up to date on Barcelona, Inter, and then Europa League commentaries on Wednesday night, live from Bilbao, and also Sports Extra with the Tottenham match against Bodo Glimt, the Norwegians. So that will be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sports Extra. Manchester United's match in Bilbao on 5 Live. Here is Dembele now near the edge of the Arsenal box, worked through by Doué. Kivior puts his body in the way of Hakimi, and Raya's able to come out and collect the bouncing ball untroubled. A little shuffle from him to the edge of the area, and when with those enormous white gloves, the Spanish goalkeeper underarms the ball out, and Arsenal come back to Declan Rice, and Rice moves away from Dembele, and now Rice running from deep, holds off Doué, and then finds the pass to Trossard, and Trossard's into the box, and Trossard sees his shot saved by Donnarumma brilliantly, fingertips down to his left-hand side, a touch, and it was past the post, corner.
What a save. I mean, I think that is just about nestling, maybe off the post and in, or in that bottom corner. That is a brilliant save. But let's just talk about Declan Rice in that move. That's the first time we've seen him really open his legs, drive past 3 or 4 players. Fantastic midfield play, slips Trossard in, and he's hitting the target there, Trossard, with his left foot. It's not a bad finish. It's just a world-class save from Donnarumma. Brilliant piece of play all round.
He is the scourge of the English clubs, Donnarumma. Corner then, Arsenal. Saka to take it. Another set-piece chance. So Saliba's at the back post. Kivior is near the penalty spot. Here it is. It's a very deep one, which is headed across by Trossard. Marquinhos stretching, got his head to it for PSG. Ball still in the area, and then it's cleared away by Vitinha downfield, and the referee has brought it all the way back, because the long, he was waiting to see if the long pass would find Dembele. It didn't, and he's brought it back for an infringement.
I just didn't see
the edge of the area.
Infringement was at all. I mean, players competing for the ball. There might have been a little bit of contact, but that just seems a very kind of cheap free kick. If anything, I think that Kivior actually wins the ball in the tackle from Doué. I'm just looking at the replay. It's a decent tackle from Kiwior. He wins the ball.
As Donnarumma hits this downfield, flicked on, and it's cleared away towards the halfway line by Saliba. So we've got just over half an hour of this first leg to play. But PSG still 1-0 up.
That right there from Declan Rice, John, is exactly what we're talking about in terms of that physicality that Arsenal need to show in this game and start to really dominate.
But now here's Timber pushing forward up and gives it to Saka on the edge of the area. Challenge from João Neves on him, and Saka went down, no free kick. Arsenal have got it back. Odegaard tries to slip it through the middle of the two defenders, but Martinelli unable to reach that. It was overhit by Odegaard, and Donnarumma has got the ball safely for Paris Saint-Germain again. Admittedly, when we've seen him, you know, there has been the occasional shaky, less convincing moment or two from Donnarumma, but some of the saves that he's made in the Champions League matches against the English clubs this season, and as I say, notably at Villa Park in the previous round. Long pass curled forward by Kiwior. Martinelli trying to run onto this. Marquinhos gets there first, passes it back to Donnarumma, who very nearly got the ball caught up underneath his feet. João Neves has now miskicked it, miscontrolled it, but he's able to turn and pass it up the line, and Doué takes that ball down brilliant, flicks it past Lewis Skelly, and then pulls Lewis Skelly back, and that's a free kick to Arsenal.
There is a shift in this game. It's happening. Arsenal have come out in the second half and realised that they need to be more confident, they need to be more dominant, they need to be more physical, and they've been all those things.
Well, like Villa were.
Absolutely, and just not kind of play within yourself as the team, and I think there was a little element of that in the first half, because the start from PSG was so strong, but they've come back out in the second half and they're really now starting to make life difficult for PSG, which is what you'd expect.
Yeah. 1-0 at the moment. That in itself would be a huge scoreline to have to overturn in the Parc des Princes next week. Here's Timber though for Arsenal. Timber's bought Little, takes a deflection as it is clipped across the box, but that took it out of the penalty area, and now PSG are interested in the counter-attack. Hakimi's pass forward, Lewis Skelly. It's Lewis Skelly against Doué, the 19-year-old against the 18-year-old. Excellent little contest that. We might be watching that for years to come.
Yeah. He does this little thing, Lewis Skelly, where he just grabs the player and pulls him towards him, like just kind of clamps onto them sometimes.
Nuno Mendes, PSG trying to play it out from the back, which they do effectively, to Dembele, who runs into Trossard, but João Neves receives it from him, and now here is Achraf Hakimi, the Moroccan right back. Vitinha, then to Dembele, 25 yards out, Dembele into the box, little ball, excellent sliding tackle by Saliba. Very, very good indeed, and it was Hakimi who was furthest forward, but a super tackle from Saliba in his own penalty area. Arsenal come forward again. Marino's ball deflects to Trossard, just in front of Luis Enrique and Mikel Arteta, and Mikel Arteta picks the ball up, then Trossard's down, suggesting that Doué pushed him over.
And it's a little trip, tiny little kind of trip that just happened when the tackle came in, the ball went out, and I think there was just a little something, but this is a game now, John. This really has changed in the second half. It's ramped up a little bit.
Has it got a little bit of the air of the feel of the second half against Real Madrid?
It has. It's just got, the crowd, the belief, the like I say, the physicality Arsenal are playing with. They just seem a bit more confident in the second half.
Arsenal take this throw on the halfway line, back to Kiwior. In for the injured Gabriel. Don't forget, there's no Havertz, no Gabriel, no Jorginho either. So as well as Partey, they haven't got Jorginho to call on. And Calafiore's out of this as well. So it's quite a lengthy Arsenal injured list.
And PSG are pretty all healthy, aren't they?
Yeah. The only slight worry they had was over Doué, but he's out now. And here he is. Excellent. Again, beats two men, then in comes the challenge. Final challenge from Marino. That's a foul. I mean, his feet are so quick, aren't they, Doué?
When he gets going, he is tough to stop. It's like just jinky, light feet, small little touches of the turf, and he's bang, he's up and he's off, and just gets to the ball first. Marino makes the final tackle. I mean, there's a step over, there's a roll of the ball under his foot, and Mourinho just hoofs him up in the air and then gets up and knocks him over. And I don't mind that. That's the mode that Arsenal are in. It's like, you know, you're on our patch, you're going to come to our stadium. Life's not going to be easy for you.
Forward for PSG, Kvaratskhelia. Saliba comes, he leans into Kvaratskhelia, who goes down, but as he tried to work the ball away on the ground, he actually passed it to Arsenal, who break forward. Here's Trossard, passing it back to Lewis Skelly. Now the Polish international Kiwior just gets there first, but given away. Oh, Dembele, if he'd been able to receive that ball, passed forward by Marquinhos. It was just beyond him and through to Raya.
Yeah, just slightly loose ball from Kiwior, who overran it, but the speed in which Marquinhos saw that and just tried to capitalise on what really is a minor error, but he really nearly made Kiwior pay for that.
You can hear the Arsenal, you can hear the PSG supporters who are singing in unison in one corner, jumping up and down. It's like a mini Parc des Princes over there, that corner of the Emirates right now. 1-0 to PSG. Marino through to Trossard, who just gets there and cuts it back past Marquinhos, turns again. He's under pressure now from Fabian Ruiz as the Arsenal number 19, but he's done well. Marino helps him out. Now here is Declan Rice. Rice thought about the forward pass, goes square to Timber, and the Dutchman, Jurriën Timber, finds the Norwegian, Odegaard, then back from Timber. Here is Saka. Saka right out there on the right wing against Nuno Mendes. Odegaard is able to receive it from him. Odegaard's ball along the edge of the penalty area. Trossard trying to turn in the D, plays it back out to Marino. It's very congested in there, and Marino's pass hits João Neves, and PSG have got it back on the edge of their area. But promising again from Arsenal there, promising. However, PSG break forward again. There's a PSG player down, Doué, but PSG are just keeping an eye on him, and Dembele, I think, was thinking about putting the ball out of play, but he's not done, and he's now back in action, and he runs the ball across the field. And here is Doué, who's got to his feet and is involved in this attack, but the momentum of it has now gone completely, and PSG have to go back towards the halfway line. 25 minutes of this first leg to go. Still just the one very early goal scored by Dembele. The home supporters tried to do their bit again. Hakimi and João Neves. So effective, little João Neves, isn't he? Another of the youngsters, 20 years old.
He's made 2 interception tackles that have just been right at the perfect time to stop a goal. That's how important he's been for PSG. I mean, he's here, there and everywhere, doing all the ugly work, picking the ball up, pressing, never stops running, but he's made 2 challenges that have just been crucial.
Yeah, number 87. He was superb. Remember when you and I saw him in the win against Manchester City? Yes, he was. That's right. Scored one of the goals.
Yeah.
Here is Vitinha dragging the ball back and playing it to the edge of the area. I think I said that night, João Neves has got the build of Verratti, hasn't he?
Yes.
The former PSG midfielder, the Italian international. He is solidly built. Ball is with Pacho in his own penalty area. Here's Nuno Mendes, João Neves, then passes it straight out of play. And the time-honoured style, we've lavished him with praise, and he passes it straight out for a throw.
Well, he's under pressure, and that's been the difference. Arsenal have got closer, there's more pressure. Rice, Marino, Odegaard, they're just getting after that midfield 3, and they're finding it hard at the moment, PSG, to get a hold of the ball, have any consistent possession, and Arsenal really trying to apply the pressure.
From here, Mikel Arteta would absolutely take 1-1 to take to Paris next week. As it is, they're 1-0 down. Thought that they'd got the equaliser early in the second half, but that was ruled out for offside. Raya, long pass to Saka, then to Odegaard. A little bit of space for the Arsenal captain. Goes round Pacho, then across to Marino. His cross in, that comes off a PSG head, which takes it out towards the right-hand side. Timber racing with Kvaratskhelia, and it is the Georgian who gets there first, knocks it up and volleys it away, but actually volleys it straight out of play for a throw-in to Arsenal. Down in that far corner, opposite side of the field, to our left. Arsenal take the throw, back towards the halfway line. Declan Rice, 7 goals this season, 4 of them in the Champions League. Mourinho allows the ball to run through his legs. He was expecting, I think, Miles Lewis-Skelly to be there behind him, but Lewis-Skelly was closer to the halfway line, so Arsenal did well, actually, Martinelli, to keep it in play.
When Declan Rice decides to run past someone, it's happening. He just knocks it, opens up his stride. He's got so much power through his legs that he just drives past people in midfield.
Well, that's exactly what Miles Lewis-Skelly is doing now, through the middle, gives it to Saka. Saka, edge of the box, couldn't attempted the pass, wasn't able to execute it, and PSG were able to say thank you very much and take it away to the halfway line. Well, we've not had a single substitution yet, and we are now into the final quarter of this first leg. But I think that's probably what Luis Enrique is thinking about. And he's watching Dembele here go away from Kivior down the right-hand side, but Arsenal quickly back in position. And Hakimi was there to play it back to Marquinhos near the halfway line.
It's a good game when the time just flows. I mean, it only seemed like a minute ago that half-time started, and you look at the clock now and go, wow, we're this way far in, and it may only be just over 20 minutes left. I mean, it's such a enthralling game, and I can see why there's been no substitutions, because it's just been a flowing match-up of football, hasn't it? And it must start to be on the coaches' minds now to think, right, okay, with this far in, how can we impact the game? How can we change the game? And I think Luis Enrique's very close to making a change.
Mikel Arteta was running up and down the side of the pitch there, urging his team to press.
I think somebody's just been sent up the PSG line there to have a word with, who's that, Barcola?
Yeah, Barcola. Yeah. And here comes Arteta again, sprints forward, almost sprints onto the pitch. He did used to play for both of these teams. Made his debut on loan for PSG from Barcelona. He was a teenager at the time, was talking so fondly about that yesterday. Dembele has just sat down, and the referee says that he will add time on. Mikel Arteta is furious. He can't understand why the referee stopped play. Clearly Arsenal players are saying to the referee, but he's again pointing to his watch, the referee Slavko Vincic, and saying to the Arsenal players, the time will be added on.
Yeah, I get that. It's not about the time being added on, though, is it? It's about the flow and the rhythm of the game. And Dembele's back up on his feet, walking around now, no problem. Doesn't need to stop the play for him. You can sit on the floor and your team can have 10 men, or you can get up and play the game. That should be the message from the referee, not you can sit down and I'll stop the game for you, because he's up on his feet and he's okay.
So players are taking an opportunity to bring the water bottles on. 5 Live Sport will be on air tonight till 10:30, so Julien Laurent will join us again. I've just spotted that Rory Smith is sitting just to the right of Kelly, so Rory Smith of Monday Night Club fame. Dembele is substituted, so Bradley Barcola is on for Dembele.
Yes, and is it Doué will now, looks like Doué is slipping inside into the central position to occupy the role that Dembele had, and Barcola is on the right-hand side, Kvaratskhelia on the left-hand side, who has been much quieter in this second half, and that's a good indicator that Arsenal have been a different animal since the break, because they've kept the wide plays much quieter. They've had a lot more defensive work to do, PSG.
Barcola has started on the right-hand side now. Well, he himself, 18 goals and 16 assists this season.
He's done nothing wrong, can't get in the team.
So the referee is finally, I mean, that was a lengthy stoppage there, is going to...
For what as well?
Well,
I know he's gone off, Dembele, but you know, just wait for the ball to go out of play and make a substitution.
Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1 in the first leg of this Champions League semi-final. Arsenal's first semi-final in this competition for 16 years, since they lost to Manchester United back in 2009. That was Alex Ferguson against Arsene Wenger back then. And Arsenal now trying to get themselves on the score sheet with something to take to Paris. Ball is played in field by Kivior to Saliba, and then Timber. Here is Saka. Arsenal certainly looking to Saka to create that piece of magic that they need against the French champions. Last round, Arsenal knocked out the Spanish champions. Here's Martinelli away down the left. His left-footed crossing, that's headed away on the edge of the box. It was little Patiño who was back in there to head it away. Arsenal again. Whether it's Martinelli on the left or Saka on the right, that's what Arsenal need, that bit of incisiveness. Somebody to produce the inspiration, the moment of quality that can break down Paris Saint-Germain. Arsenal go long again. Saliba's pass, that is taken down there on the right by Timber. Then it comes in field to Odegaard. Odegaard 25 yards out. Rice now forward of the centre circle. Rice upright, looks to his left. Back goes back to Kivior. Then the pass to Martinelli, heels on the white line. Martinelli past Barcola, but then uses the pass to Lewis Skelly. Kivior goes squared. Good zip about the passing here for Arsenal. But we're into the last 20 minutes now here at the Emirates. Odegaard's left-footed pass down the right-hand side. Timber over there in the full-back position, drags it back to the corner of the box. Odegaard lifts it in deep, but Donnarumma comes and is able to claim that quite easily, really, for a goalkeeper of that standard.
Just not quite enough pace on the cross from Martin Odegaard. Arsenal working it really patiently. Nice amount of passing, and Odegaard gets the ball on the inside right position on his left foot. That in-swinging whipped ball that he normally plays so well, he just lofted it a little bit too much, made it easy for Donnarumma to decide to come and claim. Plenty of time to come and take that ball, and Arsenal have just lacked, you mentioned a moment ago, John, that little bit of incisiveness, that moment from a Saka, from an Odegaard that's really punchy. I mean, Declan Rice showed it with that driving run with the save from Donnarumma, but other than that, there hasn't really been much produced from Arsenal.
No, David Raya, long pass out from the back that Timber's going to do well to keep in play. Does, jumping with his head, but ball in field. Kvaratskhelia is going for goal from way out, but it did not threaten Raya's goal. It dropped well wide and behind. And we're going to see Gonzalo Ramos coming on very shortly for PSG. So second Paris Saint-Germain change coming right up. So the Portuguese international, who himself has scored 15 goals this season, Gonzalo Ramos. And we saw him score against Manchester City, didn't we? As Trossard is fouled by João Neves, and that's a free kick to Arsenal just outside their own box. Not sure if it'll happen now, will it? No, not yet. Kivior's long pass. Timber, he's got a bit of time here. Kvaratskhelia was chasing back. Saka back to Timber. Took his eye off the ball, and that meant that Nuno Mendes was able to just get a foot in there. Arsenal come again. Odegaard, Miles Lewis Skelly, and then Kivior looks for Rice, who's dropped a little deeper into the centre circle. Rice has passed forward. Saka rather tucked in position on the right hand side, then goes wider to Timber. Saka continues his run down into the full back position, then turns, looks to get into the penalty area, but excellent defending. Nuno Mendes just stepped in. That's shows brilliant. That he can defend as well, Nuno Mendes.
It's brilliant from Mendes. I will say Saka's had to play around with his positioning, because I don't think he's getting much change out of him 1v1 when he tries to isolate him wide. Saka loves to draw players out wide and hug the touchline, but he's coming inside the pitch because he's just not getting enough of the ball, and he's having to pick it up in a bit more of a central area.
Well, it's just become rather cagey, this, over the recent minutes, because I'm sure Paris Saint-Germain, they would absolutely take this scoreline. We will see Gonzalo Ramos coming on, so it's another attacking player who is going to replace, I presume that is Doué coming off. He's walking over here to this side of the field, and Luis Enrique is going through it's quite Pep Guardiola, that, isn't it? The hand signals there, then his hands behind his back, then one hand in the air, and that was all for Kvaratskelia's benefit. I presume he knows what that means.
I have no clue. I mean, he gave him a little nod of the head, John. That's all he needed, just to know the message well and truly received.
Well, all of the exertions that Luis Enrique goes through, as has been well documented, the Ironman challenges, the marathons, the cycling. He was saying yesterday he'd been walking recently. he is in great shape. 54 years old. He looks as though he could still play. Here's Odegaard into the area for Trossard, right side of the box. Saka now, it's very tight in there. Lots of PSG. Saka as well, gets the shot in, and Donnarumma, his old nemesis, is able to make the save. Just drops down at the near post, but actually the offside flag was up. So had Saka scored, that one would not have stood either.
Well, that must have been from very early on in the play, in the build-up, when the ball gets fed out to Saka. I think it just gets slipped into Trossard initially, who then rolls it back to Saka, and he is half a yard offside.
Yep, right decision.
Right decision, just very late flag.
So Gonzalo Ramos, the number 9, is now playing through the middle, and Barcola's here. And Gonzalo Ramos is onto this and lays it square, and Barcola could be in. Barcola back to the edge of the area, but João Neves lifts it over the top. Oh, Arsenal were exposed for a moment there. They've got away with that.
There they have. There's a real breakaway chance. It was like a ricochet off of a pass, and it just spun into the path of a PSG player. It's a clearance from Kivior, I think, and it rebounds off his own player. Then Ramos is on the ball, feeds it wide, it comes back inside to João Neves, and he just doesn't get over the top of the ball, and it's always rising over the crossbar. Just a little warning for Arsenal, got to be careful. 2-0 would be a disaster.
Trossard strong there against Marquinhos, and he's able to use Merino. He holds it up as well. Saka does find some space on the right. There's been precious little of that, but Kvaratskhelia is back there with Nuno Mendes. Saka puts his foot on the ball, all left foot, then uses Odegaard behind him, fair hair bobbing. Kivior steps forward to join the attack. Now it's on the left-hand side with Martinelli. Martinelli comes infield, right-footed ball clipped in, and it's headed away to the edge of the area where Fabian Ruiz is able to take it down. And Fabian Ruiz will just keep possession. Time beginning to tick down here, just over 10 minutes to play in the Emirates, and PSG with the advantage. And we know, I think anyone who's watched Paris Saint-Germain play at the Parc des Princes this season will know how effective they are, particularly in the latter half of the season. And yes, Liverpool won there. Liverpool won with that Harvey Elliott goal when Alisson had a wonder night. But they were brilliant that night, brilliant against Aston Villa, brilliant against Manchester City, and they're winning 1-0 here with a very effective away from home performance. Fabian Ruiz stabs it out towards the left-hand side. Kvaratskhelia gets his head down, now running at Timber again, as he did time and time again in the first half. Across the box, Kvaratskhelia with a shot, though, but he's got right underneath that and skied it high across goal and behind into the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, just shooting off balance there as he cuts inside onto his right foot. Arsenal, good distances, much better than the first half. They've got a little bit tighter, a little bit bolder with how they want to defend up against PSG, and it's paid off in this second half, and I think they'll take a lot from this second half into the second leg, if I'm honest, John. I mean, if it stays at this or whatever the scoreline may be, I think they'll take a lot from this second half for sure, Arsenal, and they'll realise how they need to go about this tie in the second leg to really win it.
Well, they won in the Bernabeu.
Yeah.
But I think against this team, and with Real Madrid in the shape that they were at the time, I actually think it's more of a challenge to go and win in the Parc des Princes, which is a big statement.
No, I completely agree with that. I think you're spot on. I think Thomas Partey coming back in will make a big difference. There's been certain instances in this game where you just know he would be there. That little one that dropped down on the edge of the box, on the opposition box a moment ago, he reads that and he picks up that ball. It's not easy for PSG just to get hold of it and then get some possession going. He's been a big miss tonight.
Well, Mikel Arteta is going to turn to Ben White, and that's going to be the first change Arsenal have made. And we're now in the 81st minute, which I think tells its own story in terms of options on the bench. I mean, Waneri's there, but only 18 years old, just turned 18. It's Raheem Sterling. But the ball in the centre circle with Saliba. Arsenal desperately want a goal to take to the Parc des Princes. Mikel Arteta has called on the crowd to increase the noise. Long pass forward, but Donnarumma comes forward and is able to take that ball. Two big saves from Donnarumma tonight. From Martinelli just before half-time, And that super save from Trossard.
Second one was brilliant.
Same time, Raya made the very good save from Doué in the first half too. So both goalkeepers have played a part. So just the one goal so far tonight. It is now Burton 1, Wigan 1, equaliser. Very late equaliser for Wigan, so it's 1-1 there. And actually it's all over. And that means that Burton are safe in League One for next season. So congratulations to them. 1-0 to Paris Saint-Germain. More European commentaries to come on Thursday night. Ian Dennis and Paul Robinson will be making their way to Bilbao with Manchester United. You'll hear that on 5 Live. And Alistair Bruce Ball and Rob Green will bring you commentary on Tottenham against Bodo Glimt on Sports Extra on Thursday night. You'll be able to hear all three of us on the Commentators View podcast later in the week. Arsenal with the ball inside their own half, and referee spotted a handball in there, and that's a free kick. Luis Enrique is going absolutely mad on the side of the pitch.
Yeah.
And changes being made now to bring on Ben White. Straight swap. Timber's coming off.
Yeah.
Ben White on.
Yeah, Timber just a little bit hobbling. I mean, I don't think he's got an injury, but whether or not it's just fatigued and a fresh set of legs on the right-hand side. He's had a tough evening, Timber. He's had a lot of one-on-one action to have to deal with.
Yes, he has. Been a really tough night. In fact, I suspect it'll be as challenging a night as he's had all season.
I agree.
Ball headed away by Arsenal. Kvaratskhelia. At the same time, those bouncing PSG fans in the corner. Well, we're talking about maybe Arsenal getting a goal. Those Paris Saint-Germain supporters, the Ultras, their team can get another one and make it 2-0.
They can whip up an atmosphere at Parc des Princes as well, can't they? We sampled a bit of that against Manchester City, but this atmosphere in the second leg will be pretty special.
Oh, a touch there from Gonzalo Ramos. Barcola's in! Barcola rolls the shot across goal and wide of the far post. That could, probably should, have been 2-0 PSG.
Wow, what a lovely piece of play that is from PSG. Lovely give and goes, 1-2s. Barcola does everything right. I'm looking at Luis Enrique, just spins round to the bench with his head in his hands, knowing what big chance that is. Ramos just pokes it through to him, gets there ahead of Kivior, and the finish with his right foot, it's a little bit scuffed, if I'm honest. He doesn't get a clean contact and just drags it about an inch wide of the far post. What a big moment.
At the other end, another offside flag against Arsenal, so a free kick to PSG. It's a wonder we've had only one goal here today.
Yeah, I mean, it's had play that deserves more for sure, but I think both teams defensively have done an excellent job. I mean, it's been, you know, both have been tough to break down, and I think that's been the main reason, John, and also some top goalkeeping as well to add to that.
Yes. 1-0 to Paris Saint-Germain. Another little interesting side of this as well, that Arsenal have actually got to be a little bit careful with the home match against Bournemouth in terms of who plays in that. Long pass forward, that is taken down by Gonzalo Ramos, who dinks it against the crossbar. And was there a flag there? Or not?
I couldn't tell you. It looked like half a flag came up. I mean,
well, he was through. I have to say, I thought he was probably offside.
It was a bizarre moment.
But it's a goal kick.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Saliba or Kivior had just stopped. I mean,
well, I think he was onside.
I think he was. It looked very, very tight. But neither player, Kivior didn't track back and Saliba didn't really get out to him. And then it's a weird kind of toe punt from Ramos. The shot is bizarre. He doesn't really put his foot there. He just toe punts it.
It was a bit of a Poborski, wasn't it?
It was. Rattles off the crossbar and up into the air. And Arsenal looked like the game had stopped, and he was been given offside, but he hadn't.
So that's a let-off for Arsenal as well. Barcola and Gonzalo Ramos now could have made it 2-0, still 1-0. And time running out now. We're into the last 5 minutes of this first leg here at the Emirates. BBC Radio 5 Live with the drama of the Champions League semi-finals. And again, here's one for Hakimi to chase, and Miles Lewis-Skelly. Clever. So he runs, he slows down and puts his body in the way of Hakimi and is pushed over.
That is what he does. Yeah. He uses his body in between man and ball. I'll take the foul, thanks.
Rice sprays a pass from inside his own half. That's taken down by Saka. But good work from Kvaratskhelia. Close quarters, puts the tackle in on Saka. We've only seen moments from Saka in this match. Here's another long pass from Rice, this one out to the left-hand side. That's taken down by Martinelli. Martinelli against Hakimi, goes past him. There was a foul. Well, I wasn't sure whether there was or not, but Martinelli went crashing down, and the free kick is given, and it's a set piece for Arsenal in the full-back position, the PSG right-back area. And now Arsenal, who've made so many set pieces count over the course of the last couple of seasons, well, they really need one here.
Well, it's quite a soft foul as well, I will say. I mean, Martinelli running at Hakimi. He goes past, knocks the ball and tries to run round him. There's a little bit of contact, but not a lot. Martinelli makes the most of it to win the foul, and it's in a really threatening position. This is big for Arsenal. I mean, they've got away with a couple of scares up the other end, but Declan Rice just hovering over this ball. And the problem for Donnarumma is he's going to just try and angle this free kick with pace, so it just lands around that far post, even so that it can just go in if no one touches it. And there's going to be a load of Arsenal players just running across the face of it to make the goalkeeper's life difficult.
Well, Declan Rice, of course, scored with 2 free kicks against Real Madrid here in the previous round. Now they need one of his specialist deliveries. Declan Rice staring down this free kick in the full-back position. Rice comes up, right-footed, drives it in, takes a double deflection and then bounces away, and it's cleared away, volleyed away, whacked away by the left foot of Kvaratskhelia, and it bounces out of play. And I make it, we've got 2 minutes of the 90 to play. Arsenal pressing, trying to find this equaliser on the night. Throw-in is taken. Over there to the far side, Trossard works it back to all the way to the halfway line. It goes to Declan Rice, now back in position in the centre circle, pulls it onto his right foot. There's the long pass looking for Ben White, but that's up and headed away by Nuno Mendes. Then Odegaard with a foot in, Saka can't keep it in, and it's a throw into PSG. And another change coming up, and it's going to be the midfielder, the young French international, another teenager, Warren Zaïre-Emery, who's going to come on and replace João Neves, who's had yet another good night in a PSG shirt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good player as well to bring on at this stage in the game for PSG. They've got such strength in depth, another good, energetic, top-quality young player, changing positions for another, and he's going to come on in that midfield with loads of energy. They need to see this game out. I mean, Luis Enrique will have mixed feelings in a way, because he's looking at those 2 chances, John. They must be thinking a little bit disappointed that they're not 2-0 up at least, and taking that back to Parc des Princes.
And here is also Ethan Nwaneri for the final minutes of this match. He's going to come on. He's an unused substitute, wasn't he, in both legs against Real Madrid, so wasn't able to get onto the pitch there. But in their moment of need here, and I'd say they really do need a goal. 1-0 to go to Parc des Princes really would be a challenge for Arsenal, even given what they did against Real Madrid in the previous round. Raya, long ball downfield. Saka's going to do well. He jumps, he heads it infield. Nuno Mendes is underneath it to volley it away out of play on the halfway line. And here we will see the change. Mikel Arteta, all activity, all energy, comes forward, slaps him on the back and on the bottom, and he's going to take the place of the captain. Matt,
yeah.
Odegaard off.
Yeah. Well, it's late stages of the game. I don't think Odegaard has had quite the influence over this game that he would like to have. I mean, he's done some good things, but it's been tough for him to get involved and get, you know, stamping his authority on this match. It's been a little bit more about Declan Rice, I have to say, and probably Marino have been the busier 2 of the Arsenal midfield players.
So Miles Lewis-Skelly doesn't have that record for long as the youngest Englishman to play in a Champions League semi-final, because that is now Ethan Nwaneri, 18 last month, and he's into the action. Well, he's not daunted by anything, is he? 9 goals this season, and he takes up a position in the Arsenal midfield, the number 53. Saka and Nwaneri on the field together. Ball played back to Marino. Long pass from him. Luis Enrique looking very concerned here as it's headed out of play by Hakimi. Throw in. Lewis-Skelly is going to take this. Marino finds a position on the edge of the box, but he turns and he actually plays it back. The throw into Kivior, and now all the way back to David Raya. Well, 5 minutes of added time, and we're already into that. So time very much running out for Arsenal. Here is Waneri receiving the ball there, out on the right flank, and then going back to the halfway line and back into their own half, Arsenal, and indeed all the way back to David Raya. The celebrations have already started for the PSG supporters, although in saying that, that's how they were just before the match started. Saliba then forward towards Ben White. Arsenal need to go forward, but White has to check back, put under pressure. Raya then forced to go long because Gonzalo Ramos was closing him down. Then Saka jumps for it, headed in field. Fabian Ruiz was there to tidy it up, and Donnarumma puts his foot through that and plonks it out of play inside the Arsenal half. Long throw from Ben White. He picked up a ball quickly off the cone there. Vitinha was dispossessed on the edge of the area. Then a backheel flick from Trossard. Now it's laid across, and leaning back, Martinelli sends his shot high over the top of the PSG crossbar and into the Arsenal fans behind it in the North Bank stand.
Well, I think it was Declan Rice that just saw an opportunity to get after the ball, and he puts pressure on PSG. I mean, it's great anticipation for Rice. He nicks in front of Vitinha, wins the ball, it then gets towed back to Martinelli from Waneri, and he just is a little bit ahead of it, Martinelli, so he can't really get a clean strike on it. It's just off balance with the finish in the end.
1-0 in added time to Luis Enrique's French champions. Confirmed again the champions this season for a 4th year running, the 11th time in 13 seasons. Dominant on the home front, although they did lose on Friday night, but they're winning here when it really, really matters in the Champions League. Rice, then to White on the right-hand side. Here is Waneri again. Waneri beginning to drift infield. Arsenal trying to find that moment in added time. Across it comes to Marino, who lays it off. A stretch from Waneri, but the teenager is dispossessed. And then Kvaratskhelia loses out. And it is taken away well by Declan Rice. Under pressure there, Rice is able to receive it back and then rolls a pass along the ground to Martinelli. Martinelli against Hakimi, takes him on round the outside. Hakimi's able to go with Martinelli, and then he plays it off him and wins a corner. Corner to Arsenal from the left. Wow. We're in the 4th minute of added time, Matt.
Yeah, it's clever from Martinelli, actually. There's not a lot there. He's going down a dead end, trying to run Hakimi on the outside, and he just flicks it up against him to win the corner on purpose, knowing that this is Arsenal's best opportunity to get anything out of this game, and Declan Rice just wanders over to the ball as they set it all up.
Best opportunity, perhaps. Yes. Last opportunity.
Yes.
Rice walked across there, all focus and concentration. Now he's ready. Referee's whistle goes. Arsenal players lined up beyond the far post. Rice with the delivery, deep to the back post, headed across, but the referee's blown his whistle. He's seen something in there that he doesn't like. Donnarumma's on the ground. He's saying that the PSG goalkeeper has been impeded, he's been fouled, and he's given a free kick to the visitors.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard to tell. The referee was very adamant, went sprinting over to Donnarumma to check that he's okay. I think the Arsenal staff on the bench are getting a little bit of stick from the 4th official for coming out and wanting to speak to the referee. It's Ben White who just walks across Donnarumma, who does make the most of it. I think Ben White does maybe engage the contact, but it's not a lot. It doesn't need to be a lot, does it, at this stage for Paris just to run the clock down.
And that is it. 5 minutes of added time have gone. PSG have won the first leg. Luis Enrique looks very satisfied with his team's night's work, slaps hands with his coaches. Mikel Arteta is quickly across to Luis Enrique. The Champions League theme goes, and with this scoreline, the odds are now against Arsenal hearing this theme in Munich in the final next month. PSG winning it with that very well-worked early goal. Dembele, the star, he started it. Kvaratskhelia laid it back to him, and he finished it brilliantly from the edge of the box and in off a post. That in the 4th minute, Matt, and that was the end of the scoring.
Yeah, it was tough for Arsenal to take that, actually, and I think it shocked them and it put them on the back foot a little bit, and PSG fully took control of that first half, but there was a shift in the second half. Arsenal came out, more belief, more physical, got closer, got tighter, made life more difficult, and I think you saw that they can still do damage in this tie. Thomas Partey coming back into that is going to be key, but Arsenal not out of it yet. Disappointing result, yes, for sure. They would wanted something out of this game, but I think there's something there for them to hold on to, that they can still go away from home and go through to the final.
So yes, remember, we saw Donnarumma's super saves, but Raya's saves as well, and Barcola's chance, and Gonzalo Ramos's dink against the crossbar. Arsenal could have salvaged something, but PSG could have won by more. And their supporters in that corner, it's all scarves up. And as you said, Matt, they are very well capable of whipping up a brilliant atmosphere in the Parc des Princes next week. That's what Arsenal are going to be up against. And the full-time score in the first leg here, Arsenal 0, Paris Saint-Germain 1, and Kelly Cates is here with us.
John Murray and Matt Upson here at the Emirates. And John mentioned the atmosphere in the Parc des Princes in the return leg of this fixture. Well, the Paris fans are still celebrating over in the corner to our far right as the players make their way over there, but they won't want to celebrate too soon because it is only 1-0 at the halfway stage of this tie. And we'll talk more between now and 10:30, Matt, about what Arsenal can do in Paris. Where do you think that the damage was done tonight at the Emirates?
I think it just knocked the confidence a little bit, that early goal, and it was such a sharp, fast start from PSG. Credit to them, the way they were playing, the build up to that goal. There was a really incisive pass, broke the lines from a centre-back, through into the midfield. They were off, fed wide, and the directness, the movement, the power, it was confident. And I think it just rocked their belief a little bit for me, and Arsenal hung on in there, but PSG dominated a large part of that second half and looked the better team. Second half was a different game. I thought Arsenal came back out, realising, right, we've got to get on top of this, we've got to be more physical, the midfield have got to get hold of the game better. Declan Rice started to make those runs and created a couple of really good chances, and it was a really well-balanced second half. I have to say, Paris had their chances, as John mentioned, and off the crossbar and what have you, but so did Arsenal, and I think it's quite nicely poised for a second leg in Paris.
Did that sort of slightly calmer second half suit Arsenal more? Because that first half felt frantic and frenetic, and then it just seemed to be a little bit more grown up, actually, on both sides.
Yeah, I think PSG decided they're going to get the work done early, and that might have been the plan. That might have been that we start fast. We go after him. We're aggressive with our decision making. We're going to press. We feel like we're the superior outfit, and that's the mentality that they started the game with. And over time, it balanced out, as you'd expect. Two really good teams. I think Arsenal got back into it, and the midfield wasn't quite as on point as what it had been. And we touched on it before, and that missing player in Thomas Partey, it is a big deal for Arsenal. He will be back in that second leg. Perhaps that might really change the complex of how they play.
And is there an element as well of knowing what to expect from Paris? Because I imagine they're going to want to go out and make a fast start again, particularly when they're at home. But once you've been through that experience once, are you more prepared the second time?
Yes, definitely. And the experience of being away at Real Madrid certainly will help Arsenal in that atmosphere. I think the atmosphere, like John said, will be more. I think it will be quite hostile, it will be loud, it will have a real buzz around it, and you'll have to, overcome that, and there will be rocky moments. But I feel Arsenal, if they can stay in the game, they'll get stronger and stronger and build as the game goes on. And, we'll have to wait and see, but it's not a disastrous result. But like John said, it is a tough one, as PSG have. I know they're not the favourites according to the Opta supercomputer, which we all have to listen to.
That may be adjusted actually after this result.
It might be tweaked.
But you're right, Matt. They're better at whipping up an atmosphere in the Parc des Princes than they are at whipping up a decent-sized sandwich.
A good spread, maybe, might not be there.
Well, do you know what? That's going to be at the forefront of every Arsenal fan's mind who's listening to this. Is will John Murray get fed at the Parc des Princes?
It's a big concern, isn't it?
I'll be all right, Kelly. Don't worry.
We will. I know you will be. Make sure you make sure you will be. John Murray and Matthew Upson with us through till 10:30. We'll also be joined by Julien Laurent as we'll be reflecting on a 1-0 defeat for Arsenal at the Emirates. Paris Saint-Germain with that goal from Dembele to make it 1-0 as they head to the Parc des Princes for the second leg of this Champions League semi-final. Lots more reaction to that elsewhere. League One, in League One it finished Burton 1, Wigan 1, which means that Burton have guaranteed their safety, but it means that Bristol Rovers and Crawley are relegated to League 2. We're here till 10:30 and then it's time for Stefan Powell. Evening, Stefan.
Hiya, Kelly. How's it going? You all right?
All good, all good. What have you got coming up?
Well, much like the match you've just been watching there, we've got a bit of a tale of two halves on the programme today. So we're starting off by giving Arsenal fans a chance to give us a call. 08085 909 693. How are you feeling after that one? Should that goal have been disallowed? How are you feeling? Can you pull it back in Paris? That sort of thing. That's how we're kicking off the show. And then at 11 we're turning our attention to America because it's 100 days of Donald Trump Mark II today, and he's going to be speaking, giving a big speech at a rally in Michigan during our programme, so we're going to be reflecting a bit on his first 100 days as well. So loads to come on the programme after plenty of reaction with you first on the football.
Varied as ever, Stefan. Thanks very much for that. Stefan sitting in for Tony Livesey. He'll be with you from 10:30. All the reaction to come then from the Emirates. Julien Laurent will be back with us as well. First though, here's the BBC News with Nick Hatfield.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Kelly. Good evening. Donald Trump is marking his 100th day as president in his second term, telling the American people he is keeping his election promises. A poll over the weekend suggests his approval rating has fallen to 39%. Mr. Trump spoke to reporters.